right. It is happening. It is a real Vectormen Live podcast episode. And we're back after such a long break into fresh trauma as Lawrence was at my house last week. And nothing is real, apparently, for the video game music of my childhood has all been plagiarized.
All a lie. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Sorry, I don't know why. I had to finish it.
So I actually didn't get the links to this, but I'll put it in the podcast. But traumatizingly, if you ever believed that, I don't know, the Super Mario theme belonged to Koji Kondo, or any of the original music from Sonic 1 belonged on Sonic 1, turns out they were
all frauds, they're liars.
Exactly. All stolen
salesmen that have taken you all for rides.
40s and 50s musicians are swinging in their graves while kids in the 90s grew up blissfully unaware. Impressions.
Musicians just can't catch a break. Even the Japanese are ripping them off.
So we are back after what has to be the craziest, longest break possible, to such a point and degree where neither of us could tell how much time had passed between each episode or each week since we had said we were taking 4 weeks off.
Time is convoluted in lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. We both messaged each other about 2 weeks in to say, how much to go? How long has it been? I think actually that was 1 week in, and we both assumed it was 2.
Yes, it certainly felt that way.
But we are back, and you know what? I was wrong. If on follow up to our last episode, which was 1 million years ago, it turns out I was deeply wrong. I said that on the weekend, the weekend that we would be back, that would be our anniversary episode. That this episode would be our anniversary episode if we recorded in the ballpark of last weekend. I think I said something like our first episode was the 16th of June or the 18th or something like that. Turns out our first episode's upload date anniversary is the 22nd of June. So we've accidentally...
serendipity. Yeah. Fantastic.
We've accidentally nailed it by being incompetent and also misfortunate, as my internet completely gone on Sunday when we intended to record.
The fates are on our side, Lee. That is pure providence, if you ask me.
So, happy anniversary. Well done. A year of Vectormen. That's the only thing to mention about this year. It was just a year of Vectormen. So
now that we're back from our big break, and we're all well rested, and we've all done our exercises and eaten and slept properly, this in theory should be the greatest episode of Vectormen Live that we've ever done. The greatest episode of Vectormen ever done.
Yeah, if lesser podcasts would call this season 2, and they would kick it off with exaggerated promises of live, bombastic news and coverage. And if anything, we're doing less than usual for our return. Any follow-up?
Considering our previous episode was 90% us gushing over Disco Elysium, no, I think I managed to avoid any glaring factual errors, I suspect.
Yeah, and we didn't do any Vectormen Live in our time off. We could have, but we chose not to. So we don't have anything to jump in on that. The only bit of follow-up I have is that episode 1, back-to-back 7s, fortuitously released a year ago to the day, now has a intro that I recorded in the 4 weeks to ward off new listeners.
Perfect. We live in the moment, man. Although, if you're worried about episodes that are going to age the most poorly, I suspect that this episode that we're about to record is going to be the one that ages the worst because, as far as I understand, it's exclusively news, incredibly timely news.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the fact that it would be out of date. All our episodes are out of date, and some they're actually more interesting as relics. I find. I'm not too concerned with being current. God, the idea of it. But no, episode 1 in particular was, I believe, the last episode we recorded via Craig, our good friend, and also a robot. And the audio is noticeably it's either that was it or. Yeah, I think that must have been it, because I think
My mic was not great, I remember that as well.
There's that, but it also, I believe it had to be Craig, because the audio would like bleed in or fade out mid-sentence on the recording, and that's a no-go. That can't be. And I just know that I've recommended so many people, like a lot of people will ask me, like, I get asked all the time, what do I do? And I embarrassingly tell them I have a podcast, and bold-facedly say for them they should listen to it for some reason. And
complete opposite tack from me.
And each time I do it, there's a pang of regret as I realize if they have in any way significant brainworms, they're going to go straight to episode 1, and that's the least good place for them to go.
Well, that's true for most podcasts, really.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of our inspiration for this came from Hello Internet, and their first episode was pretty good. So it sets a bar in my mind, and that as well as people are.
You mean the two, almost 10-year plus YouTube veterans?
Yeah.
I think some leeway can be extended, I think.
Yeah, I know, but you can't explain that to Joe New Guy, who already been listening start to finish to My Dad Made a Porno, or Wrote a Porno, and he expects quality entertainment from every episode of a podcast he listens to. And
as far as I'm concerned, Lee, episode 1 is where we separate the wheat from the chaff. That's the crucible within which the true Vectormen are forged.
Well, I mentioned it in the recording. I said, if you're brave enough, you should listen. I recommended that they listen to episode 2 first. I didn't say jump ahead to the new episode. Well, I did say that, but I also said, if you've got brainworms, go to episode 2 first, because I feel it's more cohesive. And
did it occur to you that someone watching the first episode of Vectormen might not know what you meant when you spoke of brainworms?
Well, I mean, it's got to have some character. I can't dryly say, please don't listen to episode 1. Go straight to episode 2.
You're hitting them with some terminology that they might not understand. They go, ooh, what could that mean? I should listen more.
I mean, well, yeah, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, what was the Brainworms episode even? That was episode 4 or 5. So that was when it made its real debut. So they would have to go a while.
They can listen to episode 1, and they can look at the episode list and go, oh, the one called The Man with Brainworms. That'll be the one that explains this. I need to get to at least that one.
Or they could go to An Empire of Brainworms, where we talk a lot about Tim Rogers. Yeah. Which would be even more confusing, as we spend a whole episode talking about the work of somebody who's not in the show. Anyway, so if you're absolutely new to the podcast, listen to you're allowed to listen to episode 1 now, because in episode 1 there is a warning not to listen to episode 1. So to me, that relaxes the soul somewhat. But that's all I got for follow-up. Shall we move on to this week's special occasion episode? Because we kind of hinted at it, but it was E3 the last week and a half, and also it's been 4 weeks of news. And a week or two ago, I said to Lawrence, I'm reading over the news that is going to be in this show, and it is almost episodic length in itself. So
Indeed. Though I'm sure we'll find a way to run out about halfway through.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when we tenuous question, baby. That's what they're for. I hope you've been holding tight to 4-week-old tenuous questions.
I've got one prepared, but it's not very good. But without any
That's
further
That's
ado,
what we want. Got that? That's not very good. Bring it.
mm-hmm.
All
So
right.
without any further ado, let's get into the news.
Let's get into the news. Scene transition. There's... Yeah, to anyone distressed about this whole we're on Twitch thing, we have different backdrops for different segments. So welcome to the green news segment, because news is evergreen.
So, hit the road, Jack, and don't come back. The news. All right, there you go.
I thought you were just going to keep going. I mean,
I don't know the rest of the lyrics to that song.
it's the exact same line. Okay, it's the news. So, how do you want to play? I guess we should just do all the real news and then save E3 for the latter segment.
I suppose that would be the best idea.
Yeah, it's, like, I guess people are going to be here for E3 for the fact there's nothing else. So the very first news story I wrote down during the break. I've been tracking the news as the weeks have went on, and this is all going to sound deeply old to you, listener, but I thought it would be charming and also relevant to people whose only news source, for whatever reason, is Vectormen Podcast, to just dish out old news for the next 2 hours plus. So the very first one I have written down: Roger Craig Smith returns to Sonic. This is technically follow-up.
Oh yeah, that's right. Who was the guy that was going to replace him? Did we know?
They never agreed to anybody. There was rumors that they were setting up Ben Schwartz, who does the voice for the movie Sonic, to take over all the role. But it was just a vicious rumor. And I mean, it's funny because what we reported on this in, I want to say January. And I also want to retract the word reporting. We pirated this news back in January. And, well, I mean, I guess Roger Craig Smith played a game of chicken. I guess that's what happened. That's the best.
That certainly seems what
theory
seems what it sounds like, because he seemed pleased to be back, and I was wondering, did he not want to go? I mean, I assume he didn't leave of his own volition. That's easy money right there.
Yeah. Exactly.
So he must have been pushed. So maybe it was a salary negotiation or something like that.
That's what I think. I think he called their bluff, I guess, and said, "Hey, you don't give me a raise for all this fucking work. I will leave this role and leave you shortchanged on Sonic's whatever. What is it? 30th anniversary." And
something like
that. Yeah. So he did that, and then they must have caved. They must have realized hiring somebody else is going to be too expensive or too much. Apparently, Ben Schwartz later tweeted that he was never consulted or offered the role. I remember that now. So I don't know if that's just professionalism, but that seems to squash violent rumors.
30 years old, huh?
Yeah. Oh,
Sonic is officially old enough for it to be creepy for him to be going to college parties.
It's been creepy for a long time, man. Carrying on from that news, while we're still on Sonic, there was a Sonic 30th anniversary news presser about 3 weeks ago.
Yes, that's right. I did actually watch that.
You actually watched it?
I guess I just happened to log into YouTube at just the right moment.
I am impressed because you've been distant from the franchise for as long as you can get away from it. So
every time I think I'm out, they just keep dragging me back in,
and they're dragging you back in with Sonic themed ices. As was
necklaces for if you are involved in hip hop culture.
Oh my god, so good. So for anyone who didn't catch it, first of all, I don't blame you. Second of all, So it was just a series of announcements, mostly to do with merchandising, I would
Yeah, it
say.
wasn't very impressive, I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm. We got one real announcement, which was Sonic Colors is getting a HD remake to all the new consoles, which is a excellent thing to happen because it's probably the best one
And the
in
first thing I
10
saw of
years.
that, the first thing I saw of that immediately after the announcement was people with surprise, surprise, side by side comparisons of the lighting and already bitching and moaning, and I'm like, oh, never change. It's always the lighting
It is
with these
always the
remakes.
lighting. I didn't notice anything significantly different, but then again, I haven't seen the side and side, and at the same time, it's not quite as impactful as like Mass Effect, where it's a cinematic story. It's
Hmm.
fucking Sonic Colors. It's cartoony. It's vibrant. It looked vibrant in the video. So I
Hmm.
mean, that's all right. Like, I'll give it a
Did,
pass.
it's been a while since I watched it, but did you remember the Sonic cameo at the Olympics?
The actual Sega releasing the Olympics 2020 game,
Uh-huh.
and
And
he's
Sonic
got
being in
like a
it,
weird mascot
and it
version of himself you can wear as.
and it is very clearly just a man in a fursuit. Yes.
Yeah. That's I love that. I love those the cameo announcements were really good. They also had
Mm.
coming to 2 Point Hospital, you could catch like the Sonic virus or something, and people will just pour into your hospital looking like Sonic, and then you cure them of the disease.
Oh,
Uh,
just like my fan fictions.
the only other thing of real note from it, which was also very funny, they tried to play the cool guy. This is a teaser to our new game thing at the very end of the video. Tried to
Oh,
pull
cryptic look.
they tried to pull a Nintendo Direct. We've got one more thing, and it was a teaser for the game coming out next year, apparently. Uh, and it was a CGI teaser trailer that showed you Sonic running in a forest and basically nothing else.
It
Uh,
seemed to be vaguely movie related. At least that was my takeaway
he
from that
did have a
because
slight redesign, I think. He looked
hmm
like
and
slightly shorter than usual.
the footage of him running through the forest looked like a scene from early on in the movie.
Oh, that would be interesting. Um, why not reboot him 10 more times? Let's keep it going. Uh, but what was especially funny about this, it didn't give away the name of the game. It gave like a cryptic clue at the end. And the very next day, a representative from Sega went to the press and he said, "Yeah, we're very excited about Sonic Colors and of course Sonic Rangers coming out 2022." So
Hmm.
he just dropped the whole thing, and there
Whoops.
you could see a marketing guy who was going to plan this slow burn scheme in which we tease out each of the cryptic letters to spell something. Just hands, face in
Remember
hands,
Project Needle Mouse, Lee?
of course. I think
Remember
you.
the big reveal that was only for it to be Sonic 4?
I know,
Whoop.
brutal. It was
And they call it Sonic 4 too. Ouch. Ouch.
it was very exciting. Project Needle Mouse. Before we saw what we were getting.
I
uh,
think Sonic 4 is the biggest example I can think of, at least, of that the unvoiceable phenomenon of you being able to pick up a game console and play it for 5 seconds and put it down and go, no thanks, I've seen enough. Like you pick up the controller, you hit jump, and you go, no, I
it's
don't
not
need any
right.
more.
Yeah, it's not right.
Uh-huh. Sonic 4 is the big example of that, I think.
Oh God, I actually got. I stuck with it. I stuck with it.
You got episode 2, didn't you?
I got all the trophies from the first one, so I could say that about that. It was playable enough that I could beat it. I did not beat the second one. The second one was fucking terrible. I don't know what changed. It apparently, in all its improvements, doubling down on that Sonic 4 formula crushed my spirit, and I just couldn't make it. I never made it to the end. It was just brutal. Uh,
Fortunately, Mania came and acted as the
Yeah, what, like
Yeah, the
10 years
the
later?
ambrosia, the cure, the panacea to cure the wash the palate.
Well,
They
Lawrence, what news you got?
well, you're forgetting that they announced Sonic Prime, the Netflix show,
Well,
slated for 24 episodes.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, still iffy about that. I mean, I was enjoying Sonic Boom. You know, they can only risk putting their hand in the fire so many times before they get burned. And
At least the track record for Sonic TV shows has been quite good, generally speaking. In fact, to my alarm, now that I think about it, the ratio for good Sonic TV shows may be greater than good Sonic games.
oh no, oh no! There's always Sonic Underground bringing down the average.
Yeah, Sonic Underground and I was going to say the
Adventures?
Adventures. Yeah, but I like
charmingly
Adventures.
bad. No, you can't hate it. Yeah, no, and to be fair, I bet you if I went and watched Sonic Underground, it'd be fucking hilarious. I bet you just minute by. I know I was baffled as a preteen when I seen it for the first time, just being like, "That's not true to the spirit of my cartoon game story, which doesn't exist." But now I would probably really enjoy watching that from start to finish and just wondering how, marveling.
Well, that's it for the Sonic presentation anyway.
As far as I'm aware.
You can pick up your Sonic necklaces if you too are part of the hip hop culture. I could feel like a marketer almost about to type the words urban if you're a part of the urban culture before someone like wrestled the keyboard away from him.
The copywriter went through like 10 drafts, and marketing said, "This is as good as we're going to allow. You can say hip hop culture."
All right, on to the news. Have you seen this footage of people being reduced to that of beasts in the streets over Pokemon cards?
Footage? Oh, this is really recent, isn't it?
This is from a couple of weeks ago. There was a consumerist feeding frenzy, Lee.
I've heard a lot about it.
Black Friday-esque, sort of like you have alerted the horde type stuff. Of people just flinging fists and kicking and screaming and clawing to get these Pokemon cards so that they could scalp them and sell them for outrageous markup on the internet.
Of course. Which apparently you're allowed. People are still doing and getting solid bang from. Baffling. Yeah. I've heard of it.
Target have stopped selling them. That's how bad it got.
Jesus. If only we could inspire that kind of fervor here. There's a fucking strong enough Pokemon card scene here that people would trample each other to death to get them. I walked into Smith's toy store literally, what was it, yesterday? Just a celebration for finishing my job, the job that was plaguing me for those 4 weeks and beyond, most of this year. I went into Smith's to reward myself with some Pokemon cards. Also because we played a game on Saturday, and or
Friday. You did it.
And yeah, well, I felt terrible because we played House Rules, which was that all energies could apply to all Pokemon, and I felt terrible that my deck wasn't decently balanced enough. And so I spent the next day piecing things together to get a good solid deck, and I realized, I could use a few new cards to buff this out now that I have an idea of what the fuck I'm doing with it. And so I treated myself and Maria, my wife Maria. And the only stampede I saw was for like, I actually don't know, it was like a Nerf gun or something. I saw like 3 people with Nerf guns. I don't know what was up with that. They might have all been in the same party. But yeah, they were going nuts for Nerf guns. I don't know.
Yeah. I bought some Pokemon cards like a week prior, and I went, oh, look, Pokemon cards. Yeah, I should get some of those. And then I brought them to the till, and then I bought them. It was a very relaxed experience.
Exactly.
Man, America's a shithole, am I right?
I just want to know how to get into the selling. I have some good ones. I want to know how I get into it,
Into the scalper market?
Yeah, I just want to, I know I'm enjoying it as a game, and I like having nice, cool-looking cards to fucking compete with, but
Those 10-year-olds have had it too good lately. Tend to knock them down a peg.
yeah, I just want, I want a feedback loop where the money from the cards goes into making more money for the cards. I want to like pull a card that's like $100, and I want to take that money and spend it on more cards, like a bad stock gambler.
The loot boxes would be the comparison I would make here. Trading cards are the original loot boxes.
Yeah, absolutely. I did not see the horrifying footage of people getting trampled to get Pokemon cards. I tend to stay clear of that. Oh god, what do you call it? Snuff.
Snuff movies.
Yeah. I don't need that in my life, man.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for Pokemon cards. The one thing's still so pure.
Mm-hmm. Just ever since the Watch People Die subreddit went down, I've just been having trouble getting erect. There's not much I can do about
it. Let me see. Did you see the Dragon Quest III remake trailer thing?
I did not.
It's bafflingly it's terrifying because it looks like Square actually want to make something good with their old properties, and there's two stories related to this actually. But yeah, there was a Dragon Quest similar to Sonic. There was a Dragon Quest presser, and Dragon Quest III is getting completely remade in the Octopath Traveler engine, which is a delight. It's going to be all 2.5. It's going to have nice pixels. It's going to retain the
pixels
spirit.
In 3D environments with like nice lighting engine and shaders.
Exactly.
It looks good. Ooh, yeah, I'm looking at the footage now. Very nice.
I mean, I'm not asking for Square Enix to make every project a fucking start to finish 2.5D affair, but now that they've shown us that they can, how could anybody be happy with the terrible Chrono Trigger ports on Steam and shit like that? How can Final Fantasy 3 through 6, which also got announced that for all modern consoles, Square Enix are also releasing what they're calling the Final Fantasy Pixel Remake Collection.
Okay.
Which will be Final Fantasy 1 through 6. Apparently true to the fucking design of the original game at long last. Each of them retaining their blocky, outdated, but stylized original incarnation without any fucking around or updating.
And we know how much you love those, don't you, Lee? You love Cloud's terrible Popeye arms.
I mean, yes, but also more importantly, I actually do. I mean, I can at least understand the argument why people don't, love the aesthetic of Final Fantasy VII's original incarnation. But the nightmare that the original 6 Final Fantasy games has gone through is horrifying. Like, they have got everything from like reworked battle stages with like outdated PlayStation 1 graphics to longer loading times on the PlayStation 1 release of Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Like,
I always love when old games getting remastered have longer load times than the original.
Exactly. It's awful. It really gets me down. And also just like, I just want good versions of this stuff, I just want to be able to play it and be like, this is the game that people fell in love with, and not some fucking bullshit spin-off, half-assed new version that came out somewhere down the line.
Gotta get the Zoomers interested, Lee. Gotta drum up the kids. Gotta get the kids in.
Yeah,
they like them really, graphics.
Yeah, you can get them on your iPhone. You'll be appeased for up to 40 hours. I don't know how you could possibly do that to yourself.
All Fallen, whatever the fuck it's called.
The what?
The terrible mobile gacha game.
Oh yeah, of course.
Using all the sprites from the original.
That's how they lure them in with that, and then they get them to buy the originals. He pretends that it's not the other way around. Just buy the original game so that you'll get lured into this fucking money
They also
vacuum.
they also announced what was it, a Final Fantasy IX animated series?
Really? I didn't hear that.
Yeah. I
Wow.
think that might have been the Square Enix conference. Not to jump ahead to the E3, but while we're on Final Fantasy, I might as well talk about it. Yeah, an FF9 animated series announced, which is good. I'm glad that they're not just continuing to go back to the FF7 well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
FF9 lends itself well to it because it's pretty cartoony to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah. What was the other thing? I remember. Oh yes, Dragon Quest. In that same presser, they announced that Dragon Quest X, which is an online game, is getting re-released fully offline. Like they're making it so that it plays offline
Oh,
decently, and they're kind of reworking it so that it doesn't feel like you're just playing an online game
so
offline.
when
That
you
you're
say
kind of
online,
balancing
do you
it.
mean like an MMO like FF14 is?
Yeah, yeah. Just like FF14 and FF10. No, not 10.
Hmm.
11. Dragon Quest X was an online game, and in an MMO sense. Now it's going to be fully offline, therefore can stand the test of time, unlike every online game ever made.
That's true. It means it'll be preservable. It can
Yeah,
be archived and played in a single player. But will it be balanced accordingly? It's what I want to know.
apparently they're doing extensive work to get it to feel so, but I mean, I don't know if they could absolutely remove the sense that you're playing an online MMO, but yeah, I don't know, whatever. I like the idea that at some point I'll get so into Dragon Quest that I'll eventually be able to get obsessive about playing each and every number, and it would be good to know that 10 will still exist in some form. So I'm happy with that.
Hmm. All right, it's my turn, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna be real quick. I've been playing a lot of Stellaris. I will not be discussing it this episode unless we really run out of time. But on that note, I'm also a big Crusader Kings fan, and apparently Victoria 3 has been announced in
that's
the
right.
Paradox Interactive Grand Strategy games. They've announced Victoria 3, which is the one that was kind of missing. It was a bit of the black sheep amongst the group. There used to be once upon a time where you could play Crusader Kings, and that would lead into Europa Universalis, and that would lead into Victoria, and that would lead into Hearts of Iron. And you could have like a save file that you could import, and you could go all the way from one to the other, and that was cool. And I always wondered, why didn't they keep that feature? But there was a big hole in the series where Victoria was. I'm interested to see if they'll find a way to implement that again, because that would be very neat.
Yeah, if they implement it for Crusader Kings 3, they're on now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you been playing the third one?
I have not, but I mean,
Yeah, it's very recent.
I haven't even scratched the surface of the tip of the iceberg that is Crusader Kings 2, let alone starting on 3.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Apparently,
Lawrence,
Victoria
new thing.
3. What's that? Sorry, say again?
It's a new thing.
I'm not swayed. I am not as swayed by shiny objects as others, Lee. I'm content with what I have.
What were you saying?
Victoria is apparently notoriously complicated even by Paradox standards, so I'm interested to see how that plays out. It's almost exclusively about like internal politics.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst Crusader Kings 2 is like half internal politics and half external politics, and Stellaris is almost entirely external politics. Victoria is apparently real complicated and real in depth with how its politics work. So I'm rubbing my hands with glee.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes.
Music to your ears.
I may have a complexity addiction as a result of this, but hey.
I've been trying to wean myself off games that give me a fucking panic attack playing. I was just like, oh my god, every move, 10 spiraling out consequences. That's
the Paradox way, which is I'm going well. 10 seconds later, why is my economy shit? Yeah. What has happened?
Maybe I'll chip in more on that when we talk about Stellaris probably next week. In that I'll be able to talk to you about it since I have played it. All right, what else we got? Overwatch 2 goes 5v5. That's interesting, I'm sure, to me.
To somebody somewhere, presumably.
Apparently,
to the people who still are in on Overwatch,
Yeah.
The rapidly dwindling group dead game hashtag.
Yeah, so now it's fracturing them even further because, well, they've basically, by going 5v5, they're taking one of the roles out, which is one of the tank roles out, and they're doing it in a sense to make balancing the game and the competitive side of it look and feel and read more clearly, and feel more like every character has an impact. But on the other hand, a lot of people, well, two factors here. One is a lot of people have teams of 6 where they factor in all their players, and now they're just going to have to ditch one dude from their crew, which goes doubly for Overwatch League, which will now have to drop a role from each of its teams, and since usually a team has like up to 3 tanks on the bench or whatever, or something like that, it will now mean just a bunch of people are just not getting a chance to play the role that they actually play. So that's not great. But the other thing that's fracturing them is that a lot of the game, as we currently understand it, involves all the little interactions you do when you've got 2 tanks and all their little special moves and stuff. And just to see a bulk of the creative workarounds and strategies of the game get wiped out by a single number change is pretty frightening for a lot of people. So it's not exactly serving to pump people up, or the existing audience up, for Overwatch 2 in any sense. I can't see how it would have got anybody excited, and I can only see how it was going to further disenfranchise people who were interested in it.
Seems to be a bit of a Blizzard mainstay at this point, where it seems like every subsequent announcement that is made about any of their games just makes people less happy as opposed to more.
Absolutely.
World of Warcraft, every time a new announcement is made, people become less happy. Same with Overwatch, same with StarCraft, same with the Warcraft remakes. Same,
it's Diablo like, Mobile. You guys don't have phones?
Yeah, classic.
I think I hedge on the fence because I could see how it would improve the game in some respects, but you don't know till you play it. And I do feel for the people who do have teams of 6. But who knows? Maybe they'll revert it by the time it actually releases. This could all be nebulous crap talk. It's just that they had a very prominent, like, hour and a half, 2 hour stream where people played in that, or developers played in that role, and it was commentated, and there was an interview. It was very public for something that might not happen. So they'll probably, out of sheer conviction, or sheer doubling down, they're gonna have to release it as they promised, to curd fan ire, which is typically not. Yeah, it's, you'd think when sequels come out, people are getting more of what they want, but it's not so for live services. A sequel only comes with bad news. No matter how nice and shiny it's going to be, how much stuff it fixes, ultimately it means you're going to be paying money to play what is a game that doesn't do sequels.
Well, not only that, but it also splits the player base between the first one and the second one. I thought, but prior to E3, where you explained it to me, I thought that it was going to be that Overwatch 1 would remain to be the multiplayer live service, whilst Overwatch 2 would be the primarily single player experience that gets deep into the story and the lore.
Slightly more complicated, but that is more or less true. This was an announcement about the competitive side of Overwatch, which Overwatch 1 and 2 will share. So no matter what copy you have, that live service remains the same on either copy. You don't have to buy Overwatch 2 if you're only there to play the Overwatch League side of things. Overwatch 2, to sweeten the deal, comes with its own unique PvE Destiny style Overwatch game that bundled with a slightly graphically updated and altered, but inherently the exact same competitive mode that is in the first one. So this is why there was a lot of conversation about, like, fucking Overwatch 2 isn't a sequel. Overwatch 2 it's not its own game. It's like and Blizzard tried to market it up and say it's a dramatic new step for expansion packs. And they market it as it functionally is an expansion pack, but it's marketed as a full game.
So it's been very unclear, and nobody is happy.
Yes, thanks, Activision Blizzard. Shock.
All right. Okay. We're going to get into a big chunky one here. I'm happy. Perhaps you're not aware, Lee, but did you know that Quantic Dream has been under legal proceedings ever since 2018?
I love this story. Yes, I have read this.
So it's supposedly because the French magazines, let me get it up here, it's Le Monde and Mediapart released articles saying that they have a toxic working environment filled with all sorts of harassment allegations and whatnot. And Quantic Dream said, "No, we're going to take you to court, put up your jukes." And the newspapers went, "Fuck yeah, we're going to put up our jukes. See us in court, bitches." And so they've been in proceedings for the last few years. Recently, some information has come to light during these proceedings of how the workplace culture has been going. And oh my, what a saga this has been. Let's see, allegations of employees' heads photoshopped onto the naked female bodies, onto photos of Nazis, things like that. All sorts of delightful things like that. Some choice quotes from David Cage himself, the man himself.
Oh yeah.
They called him to the stand. He was very upset. He's screaming, "Oh, you interfere in my business! You defend my honor!" and things like that.
Of course,
People read out some of the things that he had been saying, not in closed meetings, but at on the workplace floor to everyone who would hear him.
Oh yeah.
Things like, "Oh, in my games, all women are whores. In the open space, there is a lack of tits." Or, and I, pardon my language, listeners, but I'm going to quote the man directly here. At Quantum Dream, we don't make games for fags. So,
oh my
impressive.
God!
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All I had heard, I didn't get any of the quotes. All I knew that from the Kotaku article on it, he was described as Cage allegedly cried on the stand, stomping his feet, screaming about interferences to his business and damage to his honor, as you mentioned. And eventually stormed out of the courtroom altogether.
Yeah. He fled from the courtroom crying and stammering.
It's as Yahtzee said, melodrama. The man is melodrama.
Emotions. They got emotions.
Oh my God.
They also brought. Let's see. David Cage is not the only CEO of Quantic Dream. They also had
Guillaume de Fondemier.
Yeah, Guillaume de Fondemier, that's my best attempt.
Yeah.
And he said some pretty interesting things as well. They brought him up on the stand to talk about Quantic Dream's hiring and firing practices, which were quite suspect. And he insisted there was nothing illegal about them, and then provided them. And then the attorneys looking over them went, "No, there's a number of some highly illegal shit in here."
Yeah, apparently they provided details to cover their asses, essentially, about an employee who was let me see, I've got this here. They was reportedly provided the court with documents that were supposed to defend them against accusations of social security fraud by showing the company acting in good faith in the termination of a former employee. And on closer inspection, the court looked at them, realized that a lot of irregularities has happened in this process, which made it look like it was unlawful dismissal, which was an excellent, false start, own goal.
It did not help when Guillaume allegedly asked the judge, since he's not under oath, that means he can lie, right? And then he just filibustered the court. Just like a spew of nonsense.
Which
didn't impress the judge.
What?
I think that what was it? I think Mediapart and Le Mans are going to be just fine as far as this lawsuit is concerned. I think they're going to be okay.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Turns out you could just
this
put a
is
mic up to them and they'll ruin the credibility of their company all on their own. You don't even have to.
this is
You don't have to break the news.
this shouldn't come as much of a surprise to anyone who has played David Cage's games extensively because all the clues are there.
Yeah.
It's did you know that for the making of not Detroit, Beyond Two Souls, he approached Elliot Page with a scrapbook of like just photos of her, like a serial killer like scrapbook of photos of him, I should say, her at the time.
Yeah.
Of Elliot Page, just a whole bunch of photos saying, "Oh, I'm a big fan of your work. Won't you be in my game?" And Elliot agreed to that under the pretext that there would be no nude scenes, and then he just made a nude scene with him in it anyway.
He was in
because
it?
Elliot Page was in Beyond Two Souls, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said with David Cage in the...
No.
sex scene.
There's like Elliot Page said, "I'll do it, but no nude scenes," and then David Cage just like changed the 3D model so that it was nude, so they could do the nude.
It was
scene.
already disgusting and creepy, but I didn't think it had gotten as dark as that. So somehow in this terrible news story, I found relief.
No, as far as I'm aware, it is only in Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy that there is a David Cage self-insert of him going, "Hello, I am David Cage. This is my game." That is the only one I know of. Although I'm sure if he had the choice, he would have been in more of them. I think it's really interesting when you plot the relative quality of Quantic Dream games. When you compare that with behind-the-scenes interviews about the extent of David's involvement in the creative process.
Yeah.
Because it seems, as I understand it, the better the game is, the less or the more people there was around him telling him, "No, you can't do that," and the less involvement, the less direct creative control he was allowed. Like you hear stories about how, "Hey, do you remember the best part of Detroit? Hank and Connor."
Yeah.
Brian DeChart and Clancy Brown had to fight to include a whole bunch of really nice character arc bits that David Cage vehemently didn't want in his game. So I feel like his games are always good despite him and not because of him.
Oh my god, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's like the redeeming factor of that entire game is their relationship. That's horrifying to hear. Well, there you go. Quantic Dream, still a fucking cesspool. By their own admission.
I'm very curious to see what a Quantic Dream would look like if David Cage is ever given the heave-ho. I don't think he will be because he has too much personal control.
Yeah,
I think they could. I feel like there's enough people working there. Like, the frustrating thing about his games is that they're just good enough for you to go, "Yeah, okay, maybe this time." Right?
There's an artist here. There is a voice. It's not a great one, but there's one that is distinct.
And then I love that you can always pinpoint in these games the exact moment down to the second that the game's story turns to absolute shit. Like with Heavy Rain, there's a very specific moment where the story completely fucking falls apart. Same thing with Fahrenheit. And Detroit, because it's split into 3, there's like I guess there's 1 or 2 moments that you can point to. It's not as complicated, but there's a very specific moment where you go, "Huh, okay, you've got me," versus, "Oh no, this is dumb. This is dumb. You've lost me. It's falling apart. It's terrible."
Unfortunately for Detroit, it's flawed in inception. That the whole segregation outlook just doesn't really work or make any sense in its own narrative. So you can barely engage with what you're looking at, and it would have been better left as a cop drama.
Especially when people ask him, "Is this like a civil rights allegory?" And he goes, No. It's about robots. It's about robots." And like, isn't there a scene where Marcus literally sprays on the wall, "I have a dream," and he goes, No, it's about
political.
robots. It's not political. It's not about black people.
Everybody says
about robots.
They print that in airport magazines.
How can I make a video game about discrimination and civil rights, but I don't want to put black people in it? What do I do? I'll just make it about robots.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right. I had a story written here which seemed, interesting in the day, and now isn't. Twitch.
Oh, by the way, happy Pride Month, everybody.
Oh yeah. Oh
Happy
yeah.
Pride Month from Quantic Dream.
Oh okay. Yeah. Fuck it. Well, switch quick to a Pride Month story. Um, there was, of course, the infamous Injustice 2 debacle.
Oh, yes. Yes, I forgot about this one. Hadn't written this one down. Thank you for reminding me.
For those who didn't catch it everywhere on the day or so that it was reported, the mobile version of Injustice 2, to celebrate Pride Month, asked you as in its event to repeatedly beat up known bisexual character Poison Ivy hundreds of times as as like for Happy Pride Spirit, which was just one of like the worst conceived PR disasters I've ever heard.
This simultaneously feels like the easiest mistake that they could have made, and also the easiest mistake for them to fix.
Yeah.
Like, I can almost see how this happened. Where it's like, oh, Pride Month. What are we going to do for Pride Month? We need to queer bait. We need to pander to the LGBT plus community so that we can take their money. What do we do? Well, we've got some queer characters. So, what's this game about? Oh, it's a fighting game. The only way that you can interact with these characters in this game is to have them fight each other. So, boardroom meeting. Oh, if you beat Poison Ivy 100 times, you get a prize or something. And then nobody questioned it because the boss said so.
Unbelievable.
If they had maybe a queer consultant who would have been like, hey guys, not a great look.
Maybe just play as the character.
Or maybe
reward
just
people playing as her.
And maybe just someone in the boardroom just goes, hey, maybe there might be some unfortunate implications to this. Maybe
Maybe Injustice 2 is just the wrong game for it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The game where you
Well,
violently,
perhaps.
brutally beat people up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was...
Makes their game name very pleasingly ironic in hindsight.
Love it. Yeah, awful. What was I actually going to say? Oh, yeah. It's kind of a news story that matters very, very much for like a week, and then people just tune it out to get on with their lives. And it was the whole Twitch adding the hot tub category, which I thought was news at the time because it had a significant knock-on effect on how we were going to market coming back on the podcast. Now that it's switched to a live format. But
that's true. Maybe if we get enough donations, we can also ourselves host an episode within a hot tub.
Yeah. I mean,
feet apart because we're not gay, as they say.
Of course, you could be one. You could be in one right now. I mean, you're looking chill on screen, but
I certainly feel warm enough anyway.
Yeah, but that was going to be news until like literally this week. Twitch trends moved on drastically to something I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's called like audio proximity or something like that.
Like ASMR or something?
Yeah, but like it's ASMR, but basically the Twitch streamer will get right the fuck up in the mic and kind of talk to you like she's talking to your ear, all sexy like, and that's the new hotness. And Twitch has started banning people for that. So apparently there are limits to the inherent sexiness of Twitch's user base.
They really don't know what to do with the sexy streamers. Like they've been banning them and then bringing them back and then saying this isn't okay and then saying this is okay. Like they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think it's just wonderful to be on a platform this fucking crazy and stupid. And I, for one, welcome our sexy overlords.
Certainly. It certainly feels good for someone whose livelihood does not depend on consistency or stability of regulations.
Until we start streaming Cyberpunk, and And it all goes out the fucking door.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Don't look this up.
Okay.
I want to get your blind reaction on this in case you haven't seen it.
All right.
Did you see a trailer for something called PalWorld?
No, I did not.
Good. Let me get the YouTube link for you. There used to be a website where I could send you a YouTube link and it blacked out the title.
Sure, I'm sure it's recording very consistently on Lawrence's part, but you're kind of cutting out on me, unfortunately. Which means now the new implication of cutting out to an audience.
Do we have an audience at the minute?
Yeah, why not?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, we have somebody. We have some people. Weird. Thanks for joining us, by the way. There will be technical flaws consistently. I realize now that I've set up the Twitch stream that you're going through desktop audio, so I'm going to have to play.
Make sure I've got the right trailer here.
The audio of this on my phone, just so that people aren't bleeding in. All right, here we go. PalWorld. I mean, the smart thing to do would be probably play it on the stream. Let me see if I can do that.
All right. They can really see behind the curtain now. This is the most perfectly crafted trailer I've seen in some time.
Fuck. That looked amazing.
Yes, it did. It looked fucking incredible. That made me the favorite trailer I've ever seen in some time.
That's
the perfect escalation of, okay, yeah, it's like a Pokemon, yeah,
kind of like a farming simulator.
Digimon game.
Yeah, and then
and then you see the machine guns, and like it's only for a split second, so like your brain has just enough time to justify it. By the time like the next fucked up thing happens, and then it's like, oh, sweatshops, assembly lines, cool.
Yeah, using
Pokemon, but you're playing as Team Rocket.
Yeah, using your Pokemon as a fucking bullet shield and tossing him, discarding him away.
This is the Pokemon game that everyone at some point when they were 10, whenever you know that point where you think about, how would that work in the actual Pokemon world? Surely, but there should be a lot of this going on, and if Team Rocket is as bad as they say, there should be a lot of this. And then you thought about it and then promptly discarded it because you knew nothing was ever going to come of it. Well, here we are.
I know. Well, fascinating.
You can poach them. There's no labor laws for pals, so that's cool.
That's very surprising, actually.
The character throwing the Pikachu equivalent into a river so he can dynamite fish, so he can electrify all the fish Pokemon to make them rise to the surface. Cool, good stuff.
I'm just I'm just amazed. I'm kind of stunned a little bit. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
is so tired. It actually looks like it's got money behind it. That's what you don't see a lot of these days. Is like,
With Pokemon knockoffs, yeah.
yeah, but in general, I feel like, and we're going to talk a lot about this today, I think, but it's just like a lot of game trailers. They look pretty, but they don't look mechanically like there's a lot going on. And this game
Mm-hmm.
obviously took a long time to develop because there's even just in the trailer it was showing you some fucking wild shit. It might not
Yeah,
all
there's like
run beautifully.
like at least four different like gameplay mechanics. Like, oh, this is a
Yeah,
shooter, but it's also a Pokemon game. But there's like a factory management thing going on. It's like, oof. Hope
yeah,
they're not
that,
spreading themselves too thin.
yeah. Well, almost certainly, unless this game's been in development at an actual company for like 5 years, this is going to be. It's going to lack in some regard, I'm sure. But hey, you could pet a dog in it, and you could do it in real time by the looks of it. So
And you
thumbs
can
up.
probably kick it too.
Yeah. It's sell it into slavery or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Speaking of cutesy nonsense that would never get paid for by real companies. Yeah, sure. That was almost a segue.
Mm.
Yuji Naka has left Square off the failure, the embarrassment of Balan Wonderland, which I believe I kept calling Balan Wonderworld the week I was talking about it.
That's fine. I feel like everyone who's talked about it has made that mistake.
It just feels like Wonderworld makes sense. I don't know. I
The,
feel like
the,
I
the
remember watching
alliteration
Matt
makes it more
McMuscles.
whimsical.
I watched a video of Matt McMuscles making the exact same mistake.
It's the alliteration. It makes it seem more whimsical.
Did you know that Balan Wonderland pauses for the right ending of that word, the right suffix?
I felt it.
Did you know that was the first collaboration since Sonic Adventure between Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima,
Oshima.
the original character designer of Sonic, and
I was
Nights into Dreams?
dimly aware.
I did not know that. So it's a double disaster.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Yuji
Isn't
Naka.
not a great week for Lee's childhood heroes.
No, it's been rough. It's been a rough month. Yeah, but so whatever way it worked, either way, a month after the release of the game, obviously due to poor sales and dissatisfaction with however the end product turned out, Yuji Naka has left Square. He said in a tweet that someday he would hope to talk about what the fuck happened. He didn't say those words exactly, although I would love it. I interpreted in his heart he said those words. And he also said, in terms of what he was planning to do next, that he is 55 and will probably pack it in, retire. Which is a shame,
okay.
and I don't quite buy it.
Can he afford to do that?
I don't know. Well, I guess he must get some sort of residuals from Sega to fund these like the 3 companies he's had since.
Is this a Hayao Miyazaki situation where he says he's retiring, but he keeps coming back? I have a theory about that. I think that the work culture in Japan is so toxic that when Hayao Miyazaki announces that he's retiring, what he's really announcing is that he's found an excuse to take a vacation.
Oh, wow. That's a good
And then
theory.
he comes back, and then that's just him coming back from his holidays and goes right back to work. And that's why he's done it consistently so many times to get away from the crunch.
Yeah. That's the only way he can afford within the structure of the company to take that amount of time off. That seems like an actual solid theory. I kind of get behind that. What was I going to say? Yeah, Yuji Naka retiring. I just feel like he's gone so long down the John Romero path that it's only a matter of time that you've just become that guy who keeps doing that.
He just moves to Ireland.
Well, that would be hilarious. QCon's latest get, but no, also
for that year, I'm sure.
but also, I mean, he spent his efforts these days. Still, obviously, the fame and position that he's in will buy his life for forever. He'll be able to fly around and have a free dinner wherever he goes. So he's just like John Romero, would be working on like smaller projects and doing a lot of back and forth to different companies on mobile projects and stuff. And I just feel like once you're in that cycle, you're probably just going to stay in that. Apparently, he joined Square Enix to do that, to further that. He was going to make mobile games. And then, I don't remember who exactly, but one of the heads in Square Enix was like, nah, man, you got to make us a new action game. And the result was a disaster. So a shame, but I'm not blinking. I don't buy it. I'm sure we'll see Yuji Naka crop up time and time again, releasing stuff like
failed Kickstarter after failed Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, almost certainly. Do you remember Just Tap? His first game for his own company, Prope. Nope. That was after he left Sonic Team, and on the Wii he released a game called Just Tap, or Wii Tap, with WE, one or the other, and it came with a little ridge, like a plastic casing for the Wii remote, which was the style at the time, it extended out like quite a bit beyond the remote, almost.
It's like a chopping board looking thing.
Kinda, yeah. It's got a little paddle at the end, and you just tap the paddle, and the entire game could be played tapping that paddle, and that was honestly would have made a lot of sense on mobile phone, but for some reason it went to the Wii and had a peripheral to make it make sense, and you had to play it. I think how it worked was it had to be like on. You had to set the Wii remote down on a table, then flick off the edge of the table, the little flicker. Anyway, that's one of the. There was also Rodea, the Sky Warrior. I can't remember what.
That sounds more familiar.
That was a Wii and Wii U game that had maybe one of the most famously troubled experiences of its day. And ultimately came out. Came out in the Wii U, but packaged the Wii version with it. But it wasn't like in the same disc. It was an actual Wii disc, and I think the rumor was that it was because they had a bulk overload on orders of the original game that didn't sell, or like the Wii was already gone by the time that they finished.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think that Yuji Naka might not be very good at his job.
It's unfortunately this is not the failure of Balan Wonderland wasn't Wonderland is what I wanted to say. Was not exactly a shock to me, but I felt like with the money that they clearly threw into it and the actual Square Enix name, surely they could at least pull some kind of early 2000s jank but acceptable game. But it really was unpleasant to control and move around in, which is deeply, deeply sad.
It was like a sort of watered down ukulele situation, which is in itself a watered down Banjo-Kazooie. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Ending his career on a low note. Balan number one.
Let me see what else we got. Oh my god, did you hear about Hatsune Miku?
She is Hatsune Miku, the famous author of Harry Potter.
What?
And creator of Five Nights at Freddy's.
What? What are you talking about?
Oh, whenever a creator becomes excessively problematic for one reason or another, people just say Hatsune Miku made it instead.
Okay, I did not know this dark web meme. No, actually,
why is she in the news this weekly?
Yeah, I know. What has she done now? The actual Hatsune Miku cameoed in Ireland's secondary school leaving certificate exam just this year.
I must know more about this.
So, as the story goes, as far as unfortunately, these were all fresh when I wrote them, and then I didn't write. I just wrote headlines and assumed I'd remember in vivid detail. But it was something like the comprehension test featured exclusively Hatsune Miku, as the problem tends to be solved, like you as the main character, and was written all about her pop star life, and you know it being a comprehension test. You know, you just gotta you read it and you answer questions and you carry logic from page to page, building and
This is
building into
this
something.
isn't a Japanese language comprehension exam, is it? It's something. What is this? What am I looking at here?
This is Ireland's leaving certificate exam, which is the
2 seconds. It has two sections on Hatsune Miku.
Yeah, one of them is like the fanfic section, if I remember rightly, where you have to write like using elements of the story. You have to write like the next segment of the tale, which Ireland mandated Hatsune Miku fanfiction test.
Okay, so it's a writing comprehension. You have to read a short essay on Miku's fame, and then answer questions about the text, including: would you prefer to attend a concert that featured a real-life performer like Lady Gaga, or a virtual performer like Hatsune Miku? Let's see, the exam later... I'm reading Kotaku here, that's my source.
Okay.
The exam later tasks students with writing a composition based on a variety of topics.
There you go,
Each
that's
of
the
which
fanfic.
call back to previous parts of the test. The prompt referring to Hatsune Miku basically amounts to fan fiction. You have to write a story about her.
I can't remember what the leaving exams. I think they're the equivalent to GCSE.
Okay.
They
I think
might
it's A-level.
They might be A-level. Yeah. Ooh. But essentially, for any American listeners, God help you. I don't know. High school exams, your final exams before you go to university or whatever the equivalent to that is, college. I don't know which age group these things all happen in America, so I'm not any use translating that. I don't know why I brought it up, just to debase myself.
Just Japan slowly but surely winning the civilization cultural victory.
I know.
You know they're winning. Their fucking Vocaloid virtual idols are making it into academic.
This is how they
lever
recruit. This is how the
exams.
recruitment system is going to work from here on. You know, this is how they get you. They get you writing fan fiction and buying Hatsune Miku merch, showing up to her gigs, her real life gigs. I assume that's a thing that happens given by the context of the test.
She does have gigs. She has concerts.
That's awesome. I would love to experience whatever the hell that is. That sounds.
They use
cringe as hell.
They use the 2-pack necromancy hologram. That's how they do it.
As we all know, Hatsune Miku was a real life person who died 40 years ago. So they brought back hauntingly to life to perform all the latest hits. So yeah, that's just such an oddity that I thought had to be on the show, but especially regionally relevant to us, but also just in general, like excellent.
Right, I'm gonna hit you with a small one.
All right.
So insubstantial that I'm gonna just segue immediately into my next one. Nintendo is planning to release a chunky Super Switch at some point in September, October. Not much for me to say there, other than I hope they fucking fix that drift problem, because this will probably be the version that I'll be getting once I have the time.
And because I have the one with the fucked up drift version, I'll probably also be joining you buying a fucking new Switch. Also, I just don't want to be left. I love the Switch. I don't want to be left behind. They've got me, man. It's like the one console that I can justify to myself mentally having to get. I will not be getting a PlayStation 5. They have yet to give me a single reason.
Okay, so I'm going to segue into a slightly bigger story. Speaking of weird peripherals and like unusual consoles, have you heard of the Playdate?
Yes. I love the look of the Playdate. I'm really excited about it, actually.
For those who don't know, the Playdate is, I want to say, like an indie console, an indie portable console.
Yeah.
I hope it does better than the last indie console, which was the Ouya.
Ouya, yeah.
Which went nowhere. This one, it's got one... I don't want to say gimmick, because that sells it short, but let's be real, it's a gimmick. It has a crank.
Yeah.
It has a crank on its side that you can use to control, it's part of the gameplay to have the crank. You can use it as part of the controller for the inputs, but you can also can you open it with the crank as well or something like that? The only reason I even know about this device is that Lucas Pope, creator of Papers, Please and Return of the Obra Dinn, two of my favorite games ever, is making a game for the Playdate.
Oh my god.
That's right. And he was part of their presentation where he basically goes, "Yep, I've got a game going for this. It's not even close to being finished. I'll just show you what I've done so far, and it's just a very, very basic tech. It's more like a proof of concept than anything else. You're sitting at a desk, unsurprisingly, and you can turn the crank to do the equivalent of like opening the shutters on your Papers, Please desk." For talking to a variety of characters, and he goes, "Yep," and it's randomly generated facial features like Papers, Please, but they're all like weird space aliens because it's on Mars. And
I'm in.
he goes, "Yep,
I'm in.
I'm in. I am also in." And he said, "Well, that's about it. That's all I can really show you for now." And I'm like, "That's all.
Wow,
I'm sold."
That's the most money I'll ever spend on a single indie game. Yeah, Playdate looks great. It's like knowingly retro in terms of its like visual capabilities. It's not trying to compete at any rate, but the hope is that it will sustain itself with a market of easier to program, easier to make art for games that will have the neat gimmick of, if you want, there's a crank on the console aside from buttons that you can play it with. I don't know. I feel like there's room for stuff like this. I think we're at a point.
They're releasing a whole bunch of games of it on a monthly basis.
Yeah, great.
It seems
that's awesome. Plus, also the dev kits. I recently seen a news story. I think they're out, and I also think that they're either free or easy to get online. You can start building a game for the Playdate now, and hope for the best. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it looks super cute. It's going to probably do intensely well in terms of selling out in its first batch, and then I imagine it'll taper to something where it'll be like a specialist kind of oddball buy. But I mean, I can see kids getting it, like baby's first console kind of thing, except one of the games is a full-blown Lucas Pope game. I mean, fuck yeah. Who doesn't want that?
Well, I don't know about full blown. He seemed pretty relaxed about the whole thing.
Well,
he's like, I don't know. I guess I'll just throw something together. He seemed pretty casual about the whole thing, which is probably the way to go.
Fair enough. How about a wave of delays? I don't remember what the word is. That I was trying to say, but how about just a bunch of delays? Here's a list of the games that were in the last 4 weeks announced to not be coming out the day that they were initially coming out.
Nice, lay it on me.
So, biggest one probably is God of War 2, delayed from TBC to TBC. Apparently, it's just pushed back a year. It'll probably be late 2022. I don't know,
surprising.
Something like that. There was an article on IGN that basically said about how there was like 15% of the workflow had kind of fallen out of efficiency, which tends to correlate to about 9 months additional development time. So it's good. It's gonna be a while.
Well, at least they have realistic expectations.
There's also rumors, not confirmed. This one. Rumors of Horizon Forbidden West getting delayed. So I mean, I assume they wanted that out this year, and I think it's not coming out this year, but yet to be confirmed.
It would make a lot of sense that Sony did not have an E3 presence this year.
Skull and Bones delayed to 2023, I believe.
Still a game. Good to hear.
Apparently. Again, rumors, development started again from scratch not too long ago, so that's not a good sign. But also it is a great sign, because last thing I heard was they were doing that fucking live service bullshit. And I would pivot hard from that if I were Ubisoft, because that shit's going down the drain very quickly. You will soon see. Baldur's Gate 3 still in early access, but
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought it'd be weird for that to get a delay because I thought it was already sort of released on like a preliminary
it
basis.
had a date for this year that is now next year sometime. So the final release was supposed to be this year, and they're saying they've got more stuff to put into it than even they expected. So there you go. There's that. There's also Rare's Everwild. I don't know if you remember that. That was
a bunch of like millennials hanging around with like a deer god.
was it? Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was the one with the coven of witches going on. Kind of any of that ring a bell?
Yes, there was a lot of weirdly nature-focused games in that one conference
Yeah,
that we watched.
that's right.
Let's see.
Whichever one that was. It's been pushed to 2024.
Oh well, I guess they needed to work really hard on getting Jack Sparrow into Sea of Thieves.
That's it. It took a lot of resources. Apparently, that one's down to a change in creative. Creative director Simon Woodruff left Rare, and so he's been replaced on this project with a steady hand from the old Rare days. Greg Mayles is now going to be the creative director. So with that comes a change in vision, apparently.
Which do you think represents the bigger ship of Theseus, BioWare or Rare? I'm going to say maybe BioWare.
Ship of Theseus?
Oh, I've replaced the broom handle a couple of times, and I've replaced the broom head a couple of times,
right,
but it's the same broom, really.
That's right. I do. I know. Oh yeah, BioWare way head and shoulders. I can't. I mean, definitely the original staff are, I think, all gone. Maybe one left. So I mean, and we're not even talking like they left. I think after Mass Effect, during Mass Effect, something like that.
Oh
so,
yes, it was Mass Effect 2 that the exodus happened. I think.
Yeah. So, we've been quite a few years and quite a few scandals without a declarative vision and voice for what BioWare actually is anymore. So, I'd say that qualifies for Ship of Thieves. Thieves? Did you say Thieves? Yeah, I can't remember the
Theseus.
actual Theseus. I always forget. I know the metaphor. I always forget the name of these things, which makes me a terrible online speaking pundit for being unable to actually reference. But I think Rare. Some people are still there, still want to make it work. Greg Mayles is like proper old school Rare. Like he was there in the pre-Donkey Kong Country days.
Still work there?
No. He's, as far as I'm aware, Grant Kirkhope is freelance.
Oh, I see. He's a gun for hire.
Yeah. So he's worked on everything from EA projects. He did Ukulele with Platonic, I believe, and its sequel probably. But yeah, he also did changes.
That game.
Yeah, did you? Well, I will be talking about it soon because I've been playing it, and I'll preliminarily say here, it's very good. Shockingly, surprisingly good if you've ever played Ukulele. That's my tease because that doesn't even explain what the fuck it is. Last on delays, the ultimate delay, which is a cancellation. Tekken X Street Fighter is officially dead.
That does not surprise me in the slightest because the first Tekken Cross Street Fighter was not very good and is not well liked.
No. And you feel like if it was ever going to happen, like something for the project made it into Tekken 7 because Akuma. He's like a main character in it in the story mode. I wouldn't go that far. He shows up for like, I don't know, an hour so that Heihachi can fight him, and it's very cool. Well, he's tied into the plot. He's in it prevalently. I've been playing it. He's actually tied into what is happening in the story, and has characters whose arcs depend on him existing in this universe. So I don't know what to tell you. He's definitely in there. So they definitely were trying to build something with that character. probably for Tekken X Street Fighter, salvaged what they had, whacked it into Tekken 7, and then called it quits this year, post E3. The Tekken guy, whatever his name is, I always forget his name.
Rada?
Is that what you call the guy? The creative mastermind of Tekken, yeah.
Yeah, that's Harada.
Yeah. There's him, and then there's the Gran Turismo guy. The two guys who have not left their franchises for PlayStation from like near the beginning, if not the entire career of that. Anyway, R.I.P. in peace. I was more looking forward to Tekken X Street Fighter because I can play Tekken and I can't play Street Fighter. But ultimately, I also have played Street Fighter X Tekken, and again, I can't play Street Fighter. Even I could tell that was a little rough.
Yeah, we're very opposite in that regard. That I cannot play Tekken to save my life, but I can play Street Fighter.
Ooh, interesting. We're gonna have to do one of those weird tournaments where we have to swap games. I don't know, like actual competitions.
Or we could just play Street Fighter cross Tekken and both be bad at it.
Oh, clever.
Only allowed to play characters from the opposite franchise that you're good at.
Yeah, genius move. Heihachi plays like Tekken on Street Fighter X Tekken, so good luck with that.
All right. In a shocking swerve that will surprise exactly nobody, Facebook is adding ads to the Oculus Rift.
That shocks me. I'm shocked.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's like the easiest how it started, how it's going, like comparison meme imaginable. It's like, yeah, the moment that Facebook acquired Oculus, this was the inevitable. It was preordained. This was never going to not happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would have thought they would have waited to make money and actually sell a few of these things before the ads came in. Just kind of break the mainstream a little bit.
This could be them attempting to squeeze it for as much money as they can.
Yeah, that's true. Salvage what they have.
Nah, I can't believe John Carmack is shackled to that company now.
Yeah, I'm sure
he backed the wrong horse.
I'm sure he's probably quite happy. He's probably in some sort of box, tinkering with VR headsets all day, unperturbed, and cares not. Never seemingly cared a lot about actual games so much as technology, so he's probably happier. He's probably happier where he is. He doesn't actually care.
I hope that he makes a number of innovations that are promptly copied by much better companies.
Or he breaks away, and did he almost get sued by id Software on his departure for robbing them?
Because apparently he according to them, allegedly he pinched a bunch of VR stuff from them, but that always seemed like an incredibly tenuous case from what I saw of it.
Yeah, of course. The holdout on VR continues. Put it that way. Come on, we've got some more news. Here we go.
That's it for me for non-E3 news. So work away.
All right, here we go. Well, let's do some roundup, and then we'll take a brief break. Scott Cawthon.
Oh yes. Tatsumi Miku, the creator of the Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes, Five Nights at Freddy creator Scott Cawthon. I'm sure I haven't been on Twitter, but I'm sure a lot of people came out to say he was witch hunted.
He made a big fucky wucky this week, or rather, his fucky wucky was
made public,
exposed to the braying masses this week.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know if anybody felt to the contrary, but either way, it came out that Scott Cawthon has been funneling a lot of his earnings from his franchise success into the careers of ex-president of America, Donald Trump.
And a few members. Yeah. Mitch McConnell was the surprising one to me because I didn't know.
Surprise guest, Mitch McConnell.
I didn't know that there was a single person on Earth that liked Mitch McConnell. There was people who might have found him useful politically speaking, but nobody liked him. And here I've been proven wrong. There's at least one person. Scott Cawthon.
I don't know if you
likes
can
Mitch
call
McConnell.
it. I don't know if you can call putting money into a person liking a person. That could still be political. I don't know, validation. Despite it, but I mean, like, yeah, there has to be some sort of rapport personally on some level and I find it hard to imagine where, because I've never heard a word come out of McConnell's mouth that wasn't dripping in backwater evil. So, yeah, unsurprisingly, a lot of the people who have supported Five Nights at Freddy's were shocked, livid, especially anyone from the LGBTQIA plus group, who were livid to find out that he's been pouring money into the, almost as direct as you can, into the anti-LGBT plus movement going on in America right now. So that's excellent work, Scott. But the result is that he has stepped down from his company.
He's pulled a Phil Fish. Yeah.
Yeah. The criticism has come in. He did say something to the effect of he didn't think he would hurt people or some shit. I didn't give the read a lot of time and thought.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've no idea what to make of what his position on it is, because, like, in every respect that I can tell, he himself is a perfectly reasonable person. It's just that, like, huh? What?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know. Maybe
Why?
Maybe the Republican Party has his dog. He's just paying ransom.
Like, ordinarily at this point, I would say something like, "Oh, he probably just grew up in a red state, and it's like ingrained into him to support these people." But no, he's giving them substantial amounts of money, which is kind of difficult to ignore.
Personal donations is a hell of a commitment to voting for the true voting area that you've grown up in. It's a real stretch.
There's voting red, and then there's giving money to Mitch, to Moscow Mitch.
Yeah, that's essentially voting red, or, pouring blood. Spilling, that's the right word. Awful news. He will still be making a lot of money from both his franchise and the upcoming deals for the movie and the new sequel coming out. And there's something else in the works I heard of. I can't remember. And apparently he's still going to be making his own games, which, I mean, I'm not saying he shouldn't be allowed to do that just because he voted for Monsters, or voted with his money for Monsters. But, also, like, I would advise, until some sort of strict, very visible reparations have been paid, at least, I would advise people don't invest in his new upcoming games. Maybe, just blacklist him like the guy who made Earthworm Jim. Just, take a stance. Take an Orson card and just step away.
What did the Earthworm Jim guy do?
Massive homophobe.
Oh, classic. Yeah. Orson Scott Card is the only author who it's like morally obliged that you pirate his books.
Yeah, absolutely. A touchstone to culture that you must not pay for. All right, a couple more. Rondo of Blood. That's Castlevania Rondo of Blood, or Dracula X something in Japanese, is releasing soon in the West.
This is welcome news, actually.
For the TurboGrafx CD.
Okay. Is that available in the West? I imagine it must be.
It's available in the East. It is the original old console that Dracula X came out on. It never got a port to the original. I think it went to Sega Saturn here, but it never went to the original TurboGrafx. But Limited Run Games are releasing it ported for the original console, but the West version, which it never got, which like a handful of people own.
An English translation.
Yeah. Rondo of Blood.
Is this the first English version of this game to make it to the West?
No, it's out on PlayStation at the moment. It's out on It's out on PC, I think, as well. It comes with a dual pack with Symphony of the Night. So you can get them. You can get them. It's on PS4. It's also on PS3.
Good combo right there.
It's what?
That's a fucking good combo right there. That's a bang for your buck.
Yeah. Also, if you have a PSP or PS Vita, the Dracula X Chronicles or something like that, it ported to the PSP. Rondo of Blood. So yeah, there's loads of options for Rondo of Blood, but none of them were on the original TurboGrafx CD. Wild and neat is what I'd tag that under. Buck wild. It always makes me laugh, that phrase. Terrible. All right, here we go. I'll skip that one. It will come up. Also, speaking of Castlevania Advanced Collection is coming. It was announced not at E3.
Really? What does that entail?
I don't actually. It hasn't. The details haven't really poured out because it's a Australian rating board leak, which often tend to be very accurate. But yes, I'd imagine it's all the sweet Game Boy Advance games that very much carried on the torch of Symphony of the Night, and I mean, in a couple of cases, I know people prefer a few of them to stuff like Symphony of the Night, maybe in terms of story or design. But yeah, that's where Igarashi got forced into, got his reins removed from the main line during the, especially during the Lords of Shadow, or is that what you call that series? Yeah, in that race, that's what he was taking away on, was the advanced games.
PlayStation ones, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where they are. And yeah, there was that weird PS2 3D Castlevania that was out as well. I don't know if he worked on that one.
It's a good feeling knowing that no matter at what stage of my life, there'll always be a bunch of good Castlevania games that I can play at any given time, even if I never actually play them. Just that they're there and maybe I should crack open Circle of the Moon at some point, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Ulicity in Blue, some stuff like that. Anyway, exciting. I've been trying to get into Castlevania more frequently. I've taken steps to playing some of the good ones now that I've beat the first one and had a terrible time doing so. So looking forward to if I start enjoying the series properly somewhere down the line, I would look forward to this news, because Game Boy Advance games, underrated and good. I'm glad that they exist beyond the Game Boy Advance. Last I can think of that I haven't read, last news story. Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes is a Suikoden spiritual successor funded on Kickstarter, which has a bunch of the main team from classic and esteemed Japanese RPG Suikoden working on it. And I thought I'd just say that it got funded and it's happening, and that sounds cool. And I seen a trailer for it. It's got like I think we actually both seen a trailer for it. It was what we thought was
triangle strategy. Project Triangle Strategy. Yeah.
That's actually a spiritual successor to Suikoden called Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes.
Yeah, that's I think Suikoden might be the biggest franchise that I've heard a lot about that I have no fucking idea what it is.
Yeah, same. But at the same time, it feels like news worth saying, because at some point we will get into it, and I'll be able to look back on this and go like, oh, wow, that was news once. And that'll be the small thrill I feel that cold winter day. All right, we're going to take a break. Chill out to some Animal Crossing or whatever I have playing on, and we will be back to talk E3. Because apparently this episode is going to be as long as we had feared, so that's excellent news.
Very relieving.
Yes, stay tuned. Thanks. And welcome back.
We're back.
Yeah, and we don't have an E3 jingle, but Lawrence, if you could.
I think not.
All right.
It's E3. That's it.
Oh,
it's
perfect.
Just an E3 jingle would be like, that's the E3 jingle, that noise.
Yeah. Maybe I gotta loop it. I can make it into like a beat.
We did all this to give you less work, Lee.
That's true. And yet, here we are. Anyway, E3. First off, I think it's worth noting, there was like one game that I can think of announced in the E3 dailers that was announced pre-E3, which was Horizon Forbidden West, in terms of there was a big gameplay showcase. Did you see that?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly like Horizon Zero Dawn, except there was
But wintry.
yes, now it's summery, and it had a glider in it, which I don't know, could help you maneuver. It could add some maneuverability to that world. I feel I played. I'll talk about it at some point on the show. I've played Horizon Zero Dawn in the break. I am almost finished, and maneuverability is one of those things you'd be like, God, this game could really use just a little bit of flexibility in terms of how you can fucking interact with this world. So it seems like it wants to do that. But hey, I recognized the character from the trailer, so I am officially invested in the series, even if I don't really like those characters.
I'll be honest, Lee, this year was a bit dog shit, if we're being honest with ourselves. E3's been on a bit of a downward, even without the lockdown baloney. It's been on a bit of a downward slope. So much so that when we got bored and stuck on the Summer Games Fest, or whatever it was, with Jeff Keighley, I found that to be a substantially better experience.
Would you not count that as part of E3? I would have said that's
I think we can
technically
say
a part
it's
of the E3 experience.
I think we can say it's E3 adjacent, but as far as I'm aware, it's unaffiliated by design.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I suppose ordinarily I would make like an itemized list from each conference of things that I liked, but there was so little that I liked that I just threw it all into one big pile.
Perfect. And so
We're just gonna not things that I like, but things that I find noteworthy, I should say.
Okay. Well, how do you want to play it? Do you want to go through the conferences and you will remember as we go, or we'll just talk about the things that we're remotely interested in? Because that's actually dangerous, because there's not a lot personally that I'm invested in. So it kind of would mean nobody would. This would be an extremely short segment for our E3 special.
That's alright. You can hit us with the docket, and I'll chime in where I feel it's appropriate.
Sure. I feel like this year was definitely the year of God, I wish I was Left 4 Dead. I find that very shocking how many games came out as 4-player co-op multiplayer games this year.
I noticed this last year, or maybe the Summer Games Fest last year. Maybe it was the last E3 that we saw. But it really became in sharp relief this year that the 4-player co-op team shooter is really beginning to oversaturate.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize. I mean, what even 4-player shooters have they been playing really, except like online live services like Destiny, I guess. I can't think of like the kind of game that they're advertising a lot at this, which were like Left 4 Dead level based. I can only think of recently that I played Warhammer Vermintide. Yeah, that's what I said. Vermintide 2. Verisimilitude.
The back 4 blood people get a bye-ball because they're the Left 4 Dead team. It's their thing. It's their shtick. Warhammer gets a bit of a bye-ball because it's mostly melee. It's like a melee game rather than a shooty game.
Yeah.
So it's got that going for it. Also because at least the Warhammer Lick of Paint gives it a lot of flavor. But there was this space one that was like kind of 70s vibed. And I'm like, huh, this is really interesting. And then I saw the 4-player shooter, and I was like, ugh.
And did you not? Also, its title, Anacrusis, which
Crucis. I'm like, ooh.
Holy shit! That literally just. I love that games can have titles like that, but at the same time, the whole thing about multiplayer shooters is they have to be easy to recommend to people to play with you, and nobody in the common parlance is going to turn to their like coworker or friend at school and say, "Have you played Anacrusis?" You can barely look at it and go like, "It's just not gonna happen." But that's what I mean. It's that to me is the depth of what actually looked like one of the more fun versions of this this genre, and had some intrigue to it.
I think the worst one was the vampire one.
Oh yeah, what the fuck was that called? It was called
Fang,
Red.
Seven Fang.
It was called Red something. Redfall, which was the cringe.
No, that was the bad one. It had the tacky like Joss Whedon light dialogue.
Yeah, that was Redfall. That was.
It had the confusing like jumbled aesthetic. Like there was a whole bunch of like different like visual things going on there that didn't really mesh well.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem interesting in the slightest, and it was part of an increasingly tired genre. And was there an actual Vampire the Masquerade co-op shooter?
There was a Vampire the Masquerade. I don't know if it was 4 co-op. I think it might have been, but I wasn't entirely sure on that. It could have been a weird old-fashioned deathmatch game now that I think about it. But yeah, it was called Vampire the Masquerade Blood Guns. I don't remember what it was called. Oh, Blood Hunt. I was actually close. Called
Blood Hunt.
Yeah.
Is that a 4-player co-op shooter, or is it more competitive?
I'm gonna have to look it up.
The Mask.
Vampire Blood Hunt. It's a thrilling free-to-play battle royale game. There you go.
Oh, of course, my mistake. It is the other incredibly oversaturated genre. Yeah.
Because your niche RPG series, what you want to do to boost its image is be a failing battle royale on the back of it. Like, Jesus, who makes these decisions?
Bloodlines 2 isn't doing so hot. We need something to keep the franchise going a little. So, why not inject some lifeblood into it by making a battle royale? Yeah, really zest it up.
I think another problem with this year's E3 was that a lot of the games were kind of, you just felt looking at them that you'd already played them.
They all sort of blurred together.
Yeah. I mean, even I guess exaggeratedly, we can call these new IPs like Wonderlands.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be Borderlands. It's just going to be Borderlands. Death Stranding didn't even have it had its own thing. Far Cry, Watch Dogs, fucking Halo. It just felt like the surge of names, even when they were new, felt old.
All the same shit from last year.
Absolutely. So it just kind of the general overall effect was this ball of anxiety for the future of the video game industry, where I was like, I love this.
Lockdown related, like, everyone's locked down, so like game development is sort of slowed to a crawl where they're all working on the same projects, but still.
Yeah, no, I don't even know. I mean, I think that's the worst thing, is that if that has affected things, that means that a lot of companies started development trying to cash in on a genre that died 2 years ago or older and are only getting released in the next year or so. All it's done is we've prolonged a period of like terrible game design ideas and are now slowly enduring a release schedule that reflects like the mistakes of studios trying to jump on the Fortnite bandwagon. Or
entropy has started to kick in, and the heat death is imminent.
Yeah. All right, but generalization about the conferences aside, let's get more specific. Let's talk first about the first one we watched. You and I, and Shane, my brother Shane, and Maria,
Mm-hmm.
my wife Maria,
Mm-hmm.
which was Xbox / Bethesda. Well, realistically, it should have been phrased Xbox and Bethesda
Yeah.
for all the fuck they showed up.
There was nothing there. I can't believe Starfield, a game that has been in development since at least 2018, and they have the fucking temerity to show a pre-rendered trailer with not even a fucking hint of gameplay and nothing else.
Yeah, and they've got a good old Todd Hard. He's out, and despite this lack of
Todd Coward.
Todd Coward, despite this
Todd Howard comes in two flavors. And so when Bethesda is doing well, he's God Howard. And when Bethesda is doing shit, which is more often than not these days, he's Todd Coward.
Yeah, that's
Where's Starfield, Todd? Where's Elder Scrolls, Todd? We want to see it.
What's bad. It's bad when we haven't seen anything of this game for 3 years since announce, and now Todd's out and he's ready to make bold claims, and that's a terrible sign because not only have we been like I just think back to when Skyrim was announced. Excuse me. Skyrim was announced. I remember seeing Skyrim at E3, and I wasn't a big, massive guy who was into Oblivion. I didn't really. I liked it. I didn't love it.
I really liked Oblivion, but even its weaknesses, which were many, they added a charm to it. But the game looked like shit. It looked
I came late
bad.
to the party, and it didn't run great on PS3, so it was a mess for me.
And then we got the Skyrim, and you're like, oh, they fixed it. It looks so much better now. It looks current gen.
I just remember about the press release. They just blank showed you every facet of the game. Like they just sat down and was like, here's character creation, here's character customization, here's the skill trees, here's what the world looks like, here's what you could do in the world, here's some characters, all of which you can talk to on some level.
Oh yeah,
here's what a quest. It was really comprehensive. And
they hefted their big cock and balls onto the table and just gestured at it and went, take a look. It's all there.
And that's they didn't have to wield the sort of Todd press circuit out for that is what I'm seeing now is the major difference of the time. There wasn't anybody being like, here we gotta amp up the talk about Skyrim because they just fucking showed it. And what do you know? One of the most successful games of all time is because when it counted, they just showed us what it was, and we bought it in droves. It was bigger than Elder Scrolls had ever been by a wide margin. So it hit mainstream appeal because they got people fucking interested.
I think that was the moment where Todd sort of became the celebrity figure. That was the moment when Skyrim came out. They couldn't leverage it because it didn't exist until that moment.
Exactly. Now Todd is out and he's saying stuff like Starfield is quote unquote Skyrim in space.
As if it was ever going to be anything else. Let's be real.
I know. And also he said it's not coming to PS5. It not coming to PS5 will make it a better product. Which I get the sentiment, but also the way it's phrased is really funny. Like I agree. Cross-platform releases is going to put a significant resource drain on your team. Yes, you will get to put all those resources into something else. That's going to be good. But no, I don't know if that actually makes things better inherently. That's just, I would phrase it as that frees up more of our staff to work on fine-tuning this. I would have put it that way. But it's not singing enough. It doesn't make headlines. It's got to be.
It's not the sort of thing you sit on a stage in front of a whole bunch of people,
Yeah, exactly.
But like we're gonna need, like 3 times the size of Fallout 4 or shit like that,
That's right. Of course.
We're gonna need, etc., etc.
Oh god, cringe. Anyway, So alertness, anyone who gets swept up in this kind of crap. Todd's gonna come out here and he's gonna tell you it's Skyrim in space, and he's gonna promise you the world. And they only do that when it's not shaping up to be how they want it to be, because otherwise they would just fucking show you what it is, even if it was 2 years away. We've seen demos for games 2 years away that changed dramatically, and even still they had some confidence in the product. This is anti-confidence. This is what they said for Fallout 4, which, a significant downturn in most people's estimates from previous entries, and Fallout 76, of course. And of course they wheeled out also Elder Scrolls Online. They always do this shit. They always talk about it. And it goes right back to what's his face? BioShock Infinite's Ken Levine, who chatted up a storm, promising a game that could never be. So preparing for that is what I would advise to listeners and to personal friends. If we're in the street, we had a conversation about Starfield somehow, I'd be like, "What did you hear? Because it's not true." It's really spent. Anyway, amazingly, Bethesda have 1 year of an excuse that they don't have more progress on Elder Scrolls, and then they can say, Xbox, the shift was traumatic. We don't have anything.
They should not have announced that. They should not have announced Elder Scrolls 6.
Absolutely, yeah. They announced the concept of a new game.
They didn't even announce the concept. They just simply announced the idea that Elder Scrolls 6 was something that was in development. That was it. It was in development. That's all that they announced. They showed you like a landscape, non-specific, didn't specify where it was going to be. They just said it's in development. That was the extent of the announcement.
Must have been
they should not have done that.
Must have been a shareholder thing, Now that I think about it, it must have been TMP shareholders who found out that 7 years or so into the release of their best-selling game, they hadn't even started making a sequel to it.
Yeah, that to me indicates it's normally one of three things, which is we need to have something announced by the end of this quarter for shareholder reasons. Which is, okay, I guess. There's the Platinum Games version, which is the Bayonetta free, which is, we sort of plan to have a lot more done within a certain time frame, but we don't. And then there's the third one, which is, let's see if I can remember what it was. It's, we think that there's going to be a leak within the next couple of weeks, so we've decided to get ahead of the story by announcing it now rather than you finding out on Kotaku. That sort of thing. Those are the only reasons I can think of for why they would announce it like this, and it's a mistake most of the time anyway. Let it leak. Let it leak.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
You get double the coverage when things leak. It's not just bad enough that it's not just a game's coming out, but a game has been squirreled away and has been released to prying eyes.
When Devil May Cry 5 came out, that game was the worst kept secret in the industry at that time. Capcom has always been a leaky ship, but everybody knew that Devil May Cry was a thing and that it was most likely going to be at E3 that year. And then the trailer hit and it still popped off because it was hype as shit.
Yeah, exactly. Even people who knew it was happening were like, "Oh, fuck yeah." But here it is. And, because they had something to show, excitement ensued.
A good example of that is Elden Ring, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we sure will. Okay, so Xbox, the other thing that I can remember from Bethesda's contribution was that they rubbed in our faces and our eyeballs. I don't even know what the announcement was. They rubbed in, it's been 10 years since Skyrim. Jesus, man, I would just keep that quiet. I'd keep that to yourself. You don't need to tell the audience who are not receiving news about a new Elder Scrolls that it's also been 10 years since the last one came out. I would just be mum about that. I'd be hush. You shouldn't do it.
All right, so let's just take bets real quick. Which is going to come out first? Elder Scrolls 6 or Unavowed?
Unavowed, yeah. You know what? I feel like Obsidian have a good click these days.
They've got a decent cycle.
Yeah. They quickly released back to back The Outer Worlds and then Grounded. That was fairly quick.
And they've announced The Outer Worlds 2 this year as well, so they've got that going for them. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I can see it, and plus, I just have to believe that. I have to believe that they're working with something. Plus, they're probably working in the outer world, like a modified Outer Worlds engine. So they're not starting from scratch. I'm not sure if they did start from scratch for Outer Worlds. I'm sure it was built on something, but
Yeah,
even
I
still,
agree.
like they must have the work to heavily customize it was pretty intensive because I've never seen a game use a lot of that look assets or even systems in quite that same way. So Outer Worlds 2, logical. They've put in the work for an engine, make more stuff of it. But I think Unavowed has to, they've got a 3D RPG engine there. It doesn't make any sense not to use it.
Yeah,
Whatever the
I
hell it is.
agree. I think they're gonna make it out first. Also, maybe this is just shameless favoritism bias on my part, but I feel like their team is a lot tighter than Bethesda. There's a lot less
Yes.
cruft there, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And ego isn't spiraling high just yet. They haven't snorted up their Skyrim money and planned 4 more Fallouts because I don't know. Somebody fucking loves Fallout in that company.
It's Todd.
He doesn't even direct.
Todd.
He doesn't even direct Fallout.
I know, but
He
really,
directs
really
Elder
likes it.
Scrolls.
Does he? Wow.
Yeah,
Jesus, Todd.
that's his thing. That's his series. He's just a producer on Fallout. But I guess
Get
he
it
just
together,
hates.
Todd.
He hates working. So that must be it. He just
Understandable.
loves getting rich off some other people making Fallout, and he gets paid for it.
Well, he gets paid for it, and he gets the hate mail.
Yeah, well,
When you're the face of the company, you're the one that gets the boxes filled with bobby pins.
if you said less stupid shit, I'm sure it would be less forthcoming. Not that hate mail is correct, people. Don't do that.
Don't harass people.
Yeah. Anyway, Xbox. We should move to some of its stuff. We got to see Stalker 2, I think. I can't remember if that was a CGI trailer.
No, it looks like they had removed the HUD, but it was for the most part in engine.
All right. Yeah, I thought that game was kind of supposed to be an RPG, and it didn't look like it at all.
Yeah, so Stalker 1 is kind of a sort of Deus Ex first-person RPG. And, yeah. And this is not that. At least it didn't seem to be that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe it has skill trees like every other game. That's RPG elements.
I see. It's quite like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines in that regard, and it's an immersive sim, first-person RPG with shooting elements. That's also jank as fuck, super jank. The original Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, whatever. It's definitely one of those. This game is really, really fun, and I'm getting a lot out of it, but it is jank as fuck. It could fall apart at any given moment, and these NPCs repeat their lines just too frequently, if you see what I mean. Yeah. Eurojank. It is the progenitor of Eurojank in my mind, the original Stalker.
Wow.
And I don't mind that it's going to be getting a bit of AAA polish, but I'm seeing a definite lack of RPG mechanics, and I'm getting an Invisible War vibe off of it, and I don't like that.
Oh, that's not. Yeah, that's a good point. Good call. Good reference. Tasteful reference. There was Back for Blood that was announced at the Xbox One. The next week, it was also announced that it would be confirmed to be always online, even when played offline. So good job, guys. Good job, Turtle Rock, for all the goodwill that you had up until that point. That's a shame to squander over such a small hill. Especially, the last thing I would do in the position of an IP that doesn't actually technically exist, running off the back of a game series that is a fan favorite, but not assured success. Especially with Turtle Rock, who have always had a up and down history with big releases, but not doing super well.
That just makes me wonder who's the publisher.
I assume it's Microsoft, given that they were front and center of their presser. But let me double check. Back for Blood it's Warner Brothers.
There is your answer, Lee. Therein lies the answer.
Money to burn.
Yeah. It's a live service because Warner Brothers have demanded it be so.
Super. Yeah, of course. Warner Brothers being monsters. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I didn't feel anything for it, so yeah, it's just
No.
zombie shooters in this day and age.
Uh-huh.
This current year.
In this economy.
I'm skipping a bunch of these. Jack Sparrow in Sea of Thieves was the right my favorite level of incest.
Mm-hmm. Lee is out of context referencing a remark that I made at the time, which I'm sure I can assure your listeners made a lot more sense in context.
No, I think that made as much sense in the context. I just for being pirated it. But yeah, I agree.
I didn't remark too much on it when it came up, but Battlefield 2042.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw the title for that game, I went 2042. Oh, are they doing like the Call of Duty thing where it's set in the future? And then I went, hey, wait a minute, 2042. That's like 20 years in the future. That's not very far.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and apparently the premise of this game is that it's set in a world ravaged by climate change, and that's why we were in like a desert world, and there's like a dust storm, like a Mad Max dust storm kicking up, and the guys seemed unprepared for it, and like helicopters were being pulled about, and I went, oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, thanks for the timely reminder, DICE, but I also looked up a little bit more, and of course, I noticed, how could I not, that they had made a statement saying that its setting and its depiction of climate refugees are entirely gameplay related, are in no way intended to be political statements.
It never ends.
No, this is particularly baffling for me, and I think the plausible deniability on this excuse is beginning to wear thin, because I'm thinking to myself, this is a purely multiplayer game. Is there a single player campaign with Battlefield games? I have no idea.
Well, there used to be. This is the first that's going without one.
Okay, so there's no single player. This is a multiplayer game, and there's climate refugees that are apparently playing a gameplay purpose in this multiplayer shooter.
Okay.
That doesn't sound right. It's like, no, I don't see how climate refugees are going to serve a gameplay purpose for your multiplayer game. They must be, at this point, between this and the Far Cry 6 baloney. Previously I thought that this game is not political thing was just them being cowardly.
Yeah.
That was just them lying through their teeth because they didn't want to offend they didn't want to offend the gamers TM.
Of course, and the stockholders who didn't want to hear about their games being used for political purposes.
Well, that's just it. Now I'm beginning to realize, maybe they're saying this not to appease the gamers TM, but to appease the people bankrolling it. Yeah. Where it's like, yeah, we do actually have political things we'd like to say in this, but we can't say it because of the brass. So we're just gonna say, yes, there is. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. Yes, there is. They're just gonna flip flop.
I just feel like there's got to be a smarter way to say it that doesn't keep making the same headline read.
I mean,
says game about war isn't political.
Well, I mean, I guess if they say it enough times, it becomes almost like there has to be a word for this, like an industry lingo, like a wink, nudge, nudge
like a
situation,
dog whistle of sorts.
Yeah, like a dog whistle, like kind of how in political publications like the Private Eye, saying that someone was tired and emotional is another way of saying that they were intoxicated whenever they did something.
Oh,
because
really?
if you say someone's intoxicated in the British press, that's grounds for libel. But if you say they were tired and emotional, and everyone understands what you mean by tired and emotional, wink, wink, then then you get by. So it might be a similar situation to that.
I did not know that was a thing.
Those are the things you pick up when you're a reader of the Private Eye.
Yeah, I guess so. Wow. Yeah. I think we're on the same page. I think I started to piece together as well that this has to have there has to be a reason that these people, that these developers keep coming out so strongly against political messaging, even in games that, like the guy who talked about Far Cry 6. I don't remember if that was on our last episode or not, but the Far Cry 6 guy saying it's political. It's not political at all, and then fervently backtracking the next day when he when he said it. No, of course it's political. Whoops, I don't know. It just felt like he publicly said, yes, this for our shareholders, this game featuring like Cuban political factions and interviews isn't political.
I think it's because it might have been IGN, it might have been Kotaku. I think it was IGN. They asked them a bunch of pointed questions about this game contains like ethnic cleansing and slavery, and you're saying there's no political statement being made here, and Ubisoft said nope. And IGN ran a story saying Ubisoft does not have an opinion on whether or not slavery is bad. And so it was only in the light of that the guy came forward and went, "Oh yeah, it's totally political." Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd thought that it was that same guy had tweeted and then corrected himself later. But anyway, either version of the story, the end result is still the same. Hilarious and eye-opening, I think, that under all pretenses, saying something isn't political must serve a purpose other than infuriating. Like, I don't think people care that much about right-wing audience members to genuinely take the plunge every single time.
Oh, they do. Benefit. They never get tired of it. I mean, these are the same people for whom having a lesbian in your game consider that to be political. Those sorts of people, of whom there is a substantial amount. I mean, there was enough of them for Gamergate to be a thing. So,
no, I'm not saying that. No, of course the people are there. I just mean the companies making these decisions. I just don't. I don't believe the argument that they're doing it to keep both sides of their audience. I at some point somebody would have broken, character if it was just a matter of audience-ship, because the backlash from the news seems to outweigh for the simple case of just deferring to, yes, of course it's political. The subtext is political. It has surely less of an effect than more. But
although I'm sure there's no shortage of games where they really are taking advantage of political imagery without actually saying anything. No shortage of that.
Sure. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I just mean that I think in the vast bulk of it has to be a shareholder thing. That's. I think we're at the same point of now. Now we can see through. We've got enough examples to question why this keeps happening, and not just why does Ubisoft so strongly believe it doesn't have political content in its games. Now there's other companies doing it. You can start to see there must be a reason. Anyway. That tangent behind us. I mean, neither of us will be playing Battlefield 2042 anytime soon.
Battlefield 1066.
Yeah, of course. Man, that might actually be a real one.
Well, I mean, that's just chivalry too, isn't it, really, when you get right down to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me see. What else was done? There was Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Actually, it looked good because it was like a normal multiplayer game. It looked fun. It looked like Unreal Tournament.
Halo has completely remained utterly resolute and static in its multiplayer content.
Yeah.
Which means that it has now survived the cycle of being considered this is so old and outdated, and it's now wrapped right back around to being good and refreshing.
Yeah, fresh.
But refreshing.
I know. Nobody makes it like this anymore.
That's what you get for being an industry veteran, I suppose.
So I would consider playing that when it comes out, because apparently it's free to play as well, so I don't even have to own Halo. I mean, that's probably a negative as much as it is a positive, but I'll take it. It looks fun. Age of Empires 4 was announced. That looked good. I mean,
this has been announced a while ago. I think I had been anticipating it. I'm pretty sure back when you lived at your old place, we sat down from E3, and I was confident that there was going to be an Age of Empires 4, but I guess I got the year wrong. People have been pestering Bill Gates to make this game. I'm not joking when I say that. People have been emailing and tweeting at Bill Gates specifically
saying, "Make it happen."
When's Age of Empires 4? It was the AMA, it was the Reddit AMA, and he went, "No, I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe."
That's so strange.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, well done. You did it. All you had to do was leave the company.
And your wife.
Oh, yeah, of course. I think you mean one of the 10 richest women in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, Outer Worlds 2 was pre-rendered. We didn't really get to see that. Redfall, that was cringe. Didn't see that. Forza Horizon genuinely looks like a massively confusing experience, where races have no structure. Cars were leaping over each other every frame, so it just felt like it didn't feel like that, like chaotic in a
Mm-hmm.
Motorstorm sense. It felt chaotic in a what the fuck, how do you play this sense.
I mean, the only thing that I could think of was, you know how in Burnout Paradise there is this big city and multiple races could be taking place in the same open world at the same time?
Yeah,
I just thought, oh, maybe it's like that, but they weren't giving us a lot of information, so I don't know.
that's true. I guess that is how it's gonna work. It just never felt cohesive in the video that you could just race and not have to worry about all the shit going on. But then
It's hard to talk about Forza.
is it? I could talk about the money being poured into this for at least 5 minutes. Did you see how photorealistic that world is? It's just the most exceptionally gorgeous.
Oh, well, I mean,
Or
yeah, there was a
nothing.
moment where I was like, "Look at all this fucking money," and your wife Maria turned to me and went, "No, no, that's a photo of the reference photo that they used for the Mexican scenery." And
Uh,
then the camera moved, and it was actually footage. I was like, "Yeah,
oh
yeah."
god, it was shockingly beautiful.
I
Uh,
mean, that's the thing. That's the thing why it's difficult to talk about Forza because it's always like this. It's always pushing the limit of what it can look like, but like the gameplay itself always remains utterly static. Like
that.
talking about Forza is like talking about, oh, well, you know, the air felt really tasted really
Yeah,
nice today. You know, drank
yeah.
some water earlier. It was very refreshing.
It feels
Means
like,
it
yeah.
didn't.
It's almost like talking about like gold dust crab meal,
Uh huh.
something like that. You're like, oh yeah, it's crab shell coated in pure gold. People eat it, and you're like, okay, I can see people do really love to spend money on in stupid ways on stupid things, and it's just not gonna ever be for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's Forza. That's Forza for me in general.
I've
Like,
never eaten blowfish before. I don't expect I ever will, but the people who like it seem to like it, and it seems expensive. Good for them.
there was replaced also at Xbox. That was the Pixel Blade Runner meets Castlevania looking thing. That looked good.
Oh yes, yes, it did look very good.
Nice, cool camera angles and gritty action for
Out of this
2D.
world 3.
Yeah, yeah. Another World 3 was a running joke of ours for our E3 meetup night. Which, by the way, we didn't mention this on the podcast, but it was the first time we had sat down in the same room
Mm-hmm.
since August was the last time since my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, it was the first time that we had sat down, nervously breathing each other's air for almost a year now.
yeah. Oh, we're pushing very close to the line of a year. So
Mm-hmm.
that was an exciting experience. We got to do our traditional E3 drinking game. It was more muted this year because, well, for one, I had already been out drinking, so I didn't push for any. Nobody mentioned let's do a shot, and I didn't push it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, still ended up drinking to 3 in the morning. So I mean, God help us. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there was a game called The Ascent. I don't remember what it looks like now, so good luck. There was a game called Atomic Heart, who's gunning to be the next Bioshock. All I know is I've read an article about that. Good luck. Slime Rancher 2, getting a
Mm-hmm.
spot in a major conference was pretty cool, so good luck. Plague Tale Requiem
Is that a sequel?
that's a sequel.
All right, cool.
So
It's a live footage taken directly from Australia at this very moment.
yeah, that's what they're going for. It's
Have you seen the
photorealism.
footage of the drowning pools?
No, man, I have
Of them
not.
just funneling like writhing moving floor worth of mice into like a pool so that they can drown them all because they can't kill them fast enough. That's how many of them there is.
Dear God, oh my God, yeah, I can see where it might not have been too hard for the Plague Tale guys to get solid concept art for this upcoming game with its wave of
Mhm.
rat physics. Last one from Xbox was Psychonauts 2, which looked great.
Mm-hmm. It did. Hopefully they fix all that dumb bullshit from the first game, because it has not aged well. The game plays like shit. I love the characters and the aesthetic, and I mean the story's all right.
What specifically doesn't play great about it? Because I have played at least an hour of it, and I can't really think of what specifically about it would have been like unseasonably bad.
You never got to the very end level, which is like a circus that's in Rasputin's head.
No.
That level, I don't know if it's the level design or if it's the fiddliness of the camera angle or like the controls aren't very good, but it's not a good time. It really, really is not.
It's just like overly precise platforming for the game mechanics that it's actually working with, something like that.
Yeah, it's clumsy. It really is. It's been long enough since I played it that I can't remember the exact details of my grievances. All I can remember is how I felt whilst I was playing it, and I did not feel good. That's all I can tell you.
That well, yeah, that counts. Okay, that was Xbox.
A resounding.
Yeah, pretty not exceptionally interesting. It went on forever.
Yeah, Sony took the smart tack of not having anything to say, so they didn't show up.
Yep, so people didn't watch their conference and go like, ugh. I don't know if you caught this, but I caught the Square Enix one. I don't know if you caught it afterwards.
I got like an after action report from like a podcast that I like to listen to, and no, there was nothing of interest to me. I don't care about their fucking Marvel Avengers games. I don't care about their Guardians games, and I only have a very passing interest in their Final Fantasy games. So there is really nothing for me there.
Well, there was, aside from Guardians of the Galaxy, which was it could be good.
Apparently, Peter Quill is the only playable character, which
that was deeply disappointing. But until in gameplay, I seen that basically you get to control all the other characters as well as like Mass Effect-esque moves. You know, you direct them to do their stuff, and then you combo them together. I don't know. It looked a bit like Dragon Age, weirdly, although faster. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it, to be honest. It looks like it could be a very one and done cheapo like weekend long story mode game to burn through. But to be honest, I've been enjoying those kind of games more and more, so it's hard. At least it's single player. At least it has an interesting world, you know, something. So I'll take it as long as I'll take whatever I have to take to stop them from making more fucking live services. I'm all in Guardians. It's certainly not going to be up to like the Spider-Man level that we now have as a bar for the Marvel entries. So unfortunate for them, but no interest to you, and then immediately disinterest to you is a game called Babylon's Fall, which is a new Platinum game.
Oh yes, Platinum are making their attempt at is it a live service, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it
yes.
is. I didn't know that watching the trailer, and I thought looking at the trailer, it looked pretty fun and had a lot of creative stuff on show, and it almost looked like they're closest to traditional JRPG aesthetic fare that they've come yet. And then to find out that it was a live service yesterday was a damning blow to the entire affair. But hey, Platinum live service, that's interesting. You know,
I'm looking at a screenshot, and what is that? What am I seeing here? I am seeing 4 people standing in the co-op multiplayer pose.
Yep. The trend continues. Yeah, the only other one there that I saw was Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, which looked as close to Devil May Cry as Final Fantasy has yet got. So it wasn't turn-based in any sense. It was an actual action game, of a character action game. And I don't know, it looked good. It probably will feel like it doesn't play nearly as well as Devil May Cry, and that will be held against it in come review day. But I don't know. It's good to see other people taking a shot. Weird that it's not coming from Platinum, unless it is. Unless that's part of the deal. We'll do your fucking on a live service, Square Enix, if you let us make a Final Fantasy Platinum fighter.
That does sound like something they would do. Platinum are very much the guns for hire of the games world, where they're very good at what they do. So you'll get them to do your Legend of Korra game that's kind of mediocre, or your TMNT game, which is kind of mediocre, or your Transformers game, which was actually quite good.
Shockingly
from what I can tell,
okay, yes.
And then they'll go ahead and actually make something decent, like Bayonetta free. Anytime soon, lads. Just anything.
Like that was in the news. Whatever. Is it Kamiya? Is that what you call the guy?
Yeah, Hideki Kamiya said, "Please stop asking.
Shut the
we'll
fuck
let
up."
you know.
Yeah. We'll call you.
Don't call us. We'll call you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so that's all I have for fucking Square Enix. Quickly, also to burn through Ubisoft, there was Watchdog Bloodlines, in which Aiden Pierce is a thriving psychopath. I did go back after we watched it. I realized I didn't pay any attention to it, so I watched it again. You know what? That's the closest I've ever been to being interested in Watch Dogs. I think that this concept has a narrative that I can see the dramatic potential of, and that's more than I can ever say I've been interested in any of the Watch Dogs games. There's the hook of living as a techno guy in a modern world has never really been enough for me. I want a story of some kind, and I didn't get on board with. I want my kids back, Aiden Pierce, and
Aiden Pierce is. I should do like the Watch Dogs rant with my face with making the soy face on the YouTube thumbnail video with like a circle pointing to nothing. I should do that at some point for this show, because boy, I think this is a problem of most Ubisoft open world games, but god, do they have no idea how to play to their strengths at all in the slightest. And like Aiden Pierce in particular, it's like one of the big complaints about him is that like he's morally a mess and there's no way to sympathize with him. And like the kind of person that he is just like a crazy, like moral myopic, like murder hobo. And it seems that they must have paid attention, because they're portraying him exactly as like a conspiracy obsessed like nut bar in this game, because he's got like a beard and he's just like living on the street now.
Yeah.
And they've got like Dead Set going, oh, this guy's OG, but he's also fucking nuts.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, I see a character there, and I like the contrast between him and the more moralistic guy from Watch Dogs 2. I could see a story that I'm actually interested to see the resolve of in that setup, in that through line or byline, where, the Scooby-Doo gang antics of Watch Dogs 2, I was kind of like, yeah, I might grow to like it, but I, on surface level, don't want that. And also... I whatever the fuck they were selling Legion on, that I don't remember even hearing about a story for that game. That's how buried the lead is on it. I don't know what it's actually about. But obviously they didn't seem to care to put that forward, other than we're rising up.
Gamers rise up.
Gamers. Yeah. As another famous Ubisoft title, let's rise up against the Black Fist or whatever it is.
That's right. You can
Sam Fisher versus Black Lives Matter. Here we go.
You can play as an old lady and tase people.
Yes, that's right. You see, they're
very enthusiastic about their new gameplay system that they forgot to tell us anything about the story, which makes me think that there wasn't one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because that's all I never heard about it. But now they have one. I'm interested in that. It might even make me interested in Watch Dogs. Who's to say? So I don't know. I might actually get around to the Bloodlines. I feel like I have a compulsion to check it out. Unlike with Far Cry 6, which I have no intention of playing whatsoever. We got to see it on 3 separate conferences. And each time they wheel out... oh no. Giancarlo Esposito, man,
Despacito. Yeah, Alexa Despacito.
Alexa Despacito. They wheel him out in person at the Summer Game Fest, and twice cutscenes at Ubisoft and I think Xbox, and each time it just further showed me that they have no idea why anybody was interested in Far Cry in the first place. And it was just that it was a weird.
Well, they do know. They kept telling you over and over. It's Far Cry's amazing villains. They're the greatest villains in the world. So we're gonna
Was that
show
what
you
Shane
our
pointed
villains.
out? They actually said Far Cry is known for the greatest villains. Something like
And
declarative and insane.
the reason why they were pushing that line because you went to the kitchen to get a new drink whilst they were talking about this. But there's like an expandalone DLC for Far Cry 6 where you play as all the villains of the last 3 games, going through some kind of like redemptive dream quest or some shit like that.
Standalone DLC for Far Cry 6? The game that hasn't released?
Well, it's like, like Far Cry 3 had Blood Dragon or something like that. It's something like that.
But like Blood Dragon came out like a year after Far Cry 3. It certainly wasn't pushed at the same time as Far Cry.
Also, everyone forgets about the Jackal from Far Cry 2. No one ever talks about that guy. He was good too, but whatever. Yeah. Ubisoft full of rapists anyway, so who cares?
It's very true.
Gotta get your rape in there.
Those rapists are probably not working on the Mario and Rabbids 2 team. They seem fairly fresh. But then they moved them around, so it's hard to say who's where anymore.
Did you see the hips on that weird, like, opinionated alt chick, like, edgy rabbit there? I don't know. Maybe there's someone on there doing something.
You thought it was a girl? I thought it was a guy.
Well, I mean, whatever. These days, who can tell?
Well, whoa.
I know.
Yeah, then there was some fucking Rainbow Six bullshit went on forever. Looked terrible.
Oh yeah, some zombie shit. Like, who cares?
God, Jesus
honestly.
Christ. Generally, it kept happening that you were listening to it. It's barely holding the thread of interest for as long as you did, like 5 minutes, and then like it felt like a distinctive, and that was what the game was. And then when they faded back in, they were still talking about it, and they're like, "Oh God, we're in purgatory, and purgatory is shaped like Rainbow Six Siege with zombies."
Just occurred to me, we can sort edgy rabid OC into the same gender as Shin Megami Tensei protagonist.
Excellent.
Shin Megami Tensei protagonist. That's my favorite gender.
And Ubisoft wrapped it up with Avatar, which has the potential to be good, but also the potential to be another Ubisoft sandbox that actually doesn't feel all that different from all the other ones. So yeah. Anyway, Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, this is where the real content was, in my opinion. This is what I thought I was going to be sitting down to watching when we started watching E3.
Oh,
Kojima.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. Hideo Kojima having the fucking balls after Sony gave him a blank check and all the money in the world and his own studio with all the talent that he wants to actually fucking want to make a Death Stranding director's cut. There already was a Death Stranding director's cut. It was called Death Stranding.
Yeah. It's bold of him. Quite bold.
And he released a trailer that was just him, like, cock and ball torturing Metal Gear Solid fans. Like, the framing, like, Sam from Death Stranding, he's in a warehouse. There's some vaguely Metal Gear Solid music playing in the background. Looks like there's going to be a stealth situation. He's like, he finds like a cardboard box and like it's filled with oranges, so it's like the orange box. And then like what I can only describe as like edging. He's edging this box He's looking at the box like, will I get in? And then he sits in it like a cat, and then he goes, I don't know what I'm doing. I better not use it for this stealth segment. And then the trailer ends, and nothing else comes up.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
It was a pure don't not today froze away mop head
It's the
moment.
most like mindless self-indulgence I've ever seen.
Madness. I love that. I found out what exactly the director's cut entails, by the way, which apparently is essentially cut content in development, which you would assume, but it's funny because then I guess you could say it's like Death Stranding. Here's what the director cut, but it's shocking stuff, really. That they thought they could get away with that bullshit.
Also, there was an interview segment right afterwards where he talks about how he's sad that he keeps predicting all the terrible things that happen in the future. And like I was talking to you about how he does this and how Metal Gear Solid 2 like predicted like 9/11, and then he immediately, like within seconds of us saying that, he name dropped 9/11, and I was like, oh, this is weird, especially because the tone in which he says this. There's almost like a weird god complex to it.
Yeah.
Like
The
it's
crown
like
rests heavy on his crazy, swelling brain.
the crown rests heavy on my head. I'm sorry I caused all these terrible things to happen by predicting them and putting them in my games. I shall make more fluffy and friendly games in the future. I don't know.
He's in like the Paul Muad'Dib phase of his career. He's just like
that's
freaking
exactly
out,
it.
like. He thinks everybody's essentially trying to destroy him because of his powers of prescience.
He's terrified that with his next game he will begin the Great Jihad.
Yeah, of course. Oh man, steer us clear, oh Hideo.
Mm-hmm. Only you can save us now, Kojima-san.
Yes. All right, what else was there? There was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which I think maybe right up there with the biggest mistake in terms of title at E3. I think you gotta cut that Tiny Tina thing out. It's just people are not going to buy a brand new IP called Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Except people
like Borderlands.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if they want a successful game, no, like just it doesn't matter who it's like Ripper Roo's Crash Bandicoot, it's not going to, it's going to do actively worse than just calling the game Crash Bandicoot.
It's called Wonderlands because it's okay, so like, instead of like weird Mad Max future like sci-fi with Borderlands, you're doing like a take on of like fantasy tropes with Wonderlands. Perfect. Makes sense.
It's a good idea. Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea. You've got a good title for it, and then it's like, why do I feel like Randy was behind this idea? Am I just going to attribute every bad decision made by not Frictional Games? What's
Gearbox?
Gearbox Software to Randy Pitchford? Why, yes, I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
And am I going to be correct every time I do so? Absolutely. Yes, I am.
Yeah, the only thing else we saw of that was its insane voice cast. But yeah, I mean, it's bound to be fine. I don't know. Maybe I'll get into it. I've never really got into Borderlands. Maybe the change in setting will do the trick. There was also our moral crisis, which was Metal Slug Tactics.
Yeah. Just like we saw the SNK logo and we were like, oh well, here he comes, the Saudi Prince, Saman bin, whatever. And then we saw Metal Slug and we went, oh no. And then the more we saw, the more morose we got because it looked really good.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, we're gonna have to funnel money to the Saudi Prince. Oh boy, it's gonna be a dark day for Vectormen. That's us cancelled. Oh, how virtual signaling. How much virtual signaling can one show do? And every other action, spend money funding war criminals. It's good. It's good industry.
As far as not the indie game preference, the Summer Game Fest is concerned, there's only one other thing I wanted to talk about, and that's Elden Ring, which is we're finally seeing something. The trailer that we saw there had been leaked months prior, but I hadn't seen it. I chose not to see it.
I didn't see it.
So yep, that's a Souls game right there. That's a Soulsborne.
Sure the fuck is. That's Miyazaki as balls, as we say.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like the timing was so serendipitous. I was telling Lee about how Hidetaka Miyazaki is a big fan of Berserk, because Miura died recently, and how the Soulsborne games have like a ridiculous amount of references to Berserk, and then a character who looks exactly like Guts from Berserk in like the Wolf armor, and I was like, oh, there he is.
You
there
were
he is,
mid-sentence saying that, and then Guts showed up. You're like, all right. There he is.
Yeah, it's going to be a big open world Souls game with a horse that can jump. Because in Metal Gear Solid 5 and other games where you have a horse, the biggest pain in the ass is you're getting around fine, and then you get to like a cliff face or like a bit of strange geography that requires you to like go around and like navigate your around, and it just kills the flow of what you're doing. You're like, oh. Mm-hmm. Or, well, I mean, unless you're playing Skyrim, where you can just like
edge your way up.
You can just glide your way up with your weird horse physics. Well, Elden Ring's got your back because you can just super jump with your horse over that mountain.
Apparently so.
Handy.
I know. Yeah, I this is the kind of thing. Elden Ring stood out not just because it was hotly anticipated, but also because it was showing us something that we actually wanted. Like it gave us a glimpse at not just like a new coat of paint to something that we've seen or played before, but it gave us mechanics we hadn't messed around with before. It showed us like there's a clip where you can see you can horse combat the boss.
Horseback combat, that's right.
Not just in the open world, but actual fight bosses with the horse. I mean, there's one example I can think of in Shadow of the Colossus where you can kind of do that, but you're not. It's not. It's like it's one gimmick boss, and that's it. That's your horse done for fighting. This like the idea
free, but yeah, I know what you mean.
This actually taking it up a step where the fucking horse leaps into the air to fight with you. That shit looks incredible, and I've never done that in a game. And immediately, I'm more excited about Elden Ring. I'm barely into Dark Souls, and I'm like, fuck, I'll be playing that because it's the only thing I could see where like I'll be playing something that feels different from something else, even if it carries the genetics of Dark Souls.
Genetics.
Yeah, it's genetics. It's going to keep, it's going to feel fresh for what it actually does in that world, in that game. And that's more exciting than a million Forza Horizons and a million 4 players standing in a line for the co-op shot.
So Miyazaki, I didn't see this interview myself. This is secondhand knowledge. He had an interview like after in which he revealed quite a lot of information, surprisingly, about how this game is going to play. I said it's going to be an open world, and that within that open world, there's going to be like dungeons that are very linear and are more akin to what you would expect from like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, where it's a very narrowly, like tightly designed area. And I think, well, that's the best of both worlds. That's exactly what you want. So,
of course,
so it sounds like it's coming along well.
Yeah.
Also, there's going to be a world map, which is a first for the series.
Oh wow! Actually, I would love that. Give me all your Super Metroid influences. Bring it in. That's what I want.
I don't even think it's going to be like a Metroidvania. I mean, I think it's going to be like a big like Song of Ice and Fire map.
Okay, all right. You just chart your way by looking at it and hoping for the best. I like
it. That might be Gurm's influence there, where it's like, what? There's no map. Fuck that, I'm gonna put a map in there, because I fucking love maps. Have you read any of my books? There's like 4 fucking maps at the beginning of each and every one of them, at least.
It's the classic Tolkien approach. Maps, throw you a new map, every book.
Yeah, there's like 4 maps, and then I got to like the 3rd Song of Ice and Fire book, only to discover that he had added another 2, and now there's 6 maps at the beginning of it. I'm like, oh hey, I'm into this.
I personally love that stuff. So yeah, bring it on. The last good map I can think of was Witcher 3. Came of a nice old physical map. So if we can get a real physical map along with the copy of Elden Ring, that would be good. I'd be appeased by that. Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, obviously blows away every other fucking thing. I mean, what even? The only other thing I feel like worth talking about Summer Game Fest was Solar Ash. We got to see a little more of it.
We
Uh,
saw, we were shown like a brief glimmer of what the actual combat looks like, and you're like,
and it
oh,
looks a lot like Shadow of the Colossus to me.
it looks a lot like Shadow of the Colossus and Hyper Light Drifter, and then boom, it ended.
Thumbs up. You know, at least we've seen something. It wasn't no pretensions of narrative, no dramatic pose to sell you on the on the premise of the character.
Mm-hmm.
They just showed you climbing up a big ass thing, like rail grinding your way to the top, and then going to town. Great. That's exciting to me. That's an actual fucking game, and it looks beautiful. And there's some interesting stuff that may or may not be, new or at least work in a fun way. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Looks good. That's pretty much the best I can think that came out of Summer Game Fest. Other than that, except my favorite bit, of course.
Oh,
My favorite game, Deviation Games.
deviation game.
This
Oh yes,
this was a company went bizarrely onto the stage called
they they,
Deviation Games.
they talk a big game. I'll say that much. In
Oh
fact,
yeah,
I just typed like deviate and like immediately in the search engine deviation games come up because I imagine so many
we're
people
like, who the
just
fuck? They didn't have a game. They didn't. They barely had an announcement.
but they had big balls and that's what matters.
Exactly. It was a weird.
Okay. Do you know? Okay, so I'm on their website, Lee. I just looked
Uh,
up their website, and I shit you not, the website is just "We are deviators" with the two guys
yeah.
as a like the entirety of the website is just a photo of those two guys looking tough, like they're a bunch of Ross Kemp types
Oh yeah.
with like
Absolutely.
a text saying "We are deviators." That is their website.
I have been on the website because I
Uh
have
huh.
done my research. I was wildly curious to figure out who the fuck Deviation Games are. And now I have the answer for any of those who watched that segment and were just fucking bewildered because the two guys just went on and sold their company to Jeff publicly. Jeff,
Yeah,
please.
they pitched a big game. I have to say that,
And you could see
metaphorically
the
speaking.
fear getting into one of the guy's eyes as he realized he might have overspoken a little bit and that he was kind of there too long.
Uh-huh. Like they treated like an investor interview,
He was
and
starting.
Jeff was just giving them like the sort of yeah cool it's great
Yeah.
glad to have you on board, and they're like we make great games, we have a pedigree, just solid hits, bangers one after the other. That's what we've done in the past. I'm like, oh okay.
Uh-huh.
So who are these guys? Dave Anthony and Jason Blundell.
Yes, they are the ex co-heads of Treyarch.
Ah, okay.
Dave Anthony,
So
they both left. Dave Anthony was the director and writer of Black Ops 1. Jason Blundell was co-studio head. He's obviously produced all the same games. They both have credits on all the Call of Duty games that came out for Treyarch. But Jason Blundell specifically directed Black Ops 3, which I seem to recall not having a story mode. So I don't know what that might have been. Maybe it did. Maybe 4. Maybe 4's no. 4's the battle royale. 3 didn't have story either. Yeah. So I don't know what the fuck he directed there. The the studio, I guess.
So they saw that the Infinity War guys, when they split off and started respawning, and they had a lot of success, they're going, "Hey, we can do that too."
Yeah, presumably so. So the announcement that they actually had is that, and I don't remember hearing it, but I did read it after the fact, and it's that they've signed a massive studio deal with Sony to create a new. Essentially, Sony wants to pull a Bungie with them in some regard and try to basically egg what they're famous for and make something with the names attached so they can say from the minds, from the creative geniuses behind Black Ops, Call of Duty Black Ops 1 to 3, comes this brand new Call of Duty killer, which worked out great for Hayes.
Yep. Did they actually use those words? Were those the words
No,
they
of
used?
course, no, of course
No,
they
they
did
would. They
not.
wouldn't
It wouldn't be
invoke the
so
curse.
exactly. It wouldn't be so bold. People, although actually, now that I think about it, it does seem very on a theme for Deviation Games to come out and say we're here to kill Call of Duty,
Mm-hmm.
and if we can't walk the walk, we can certainly game the game.
We're not just the COD killers. We're the Halo killers and the WoW killers all in once.
Watch out, Fortnite.
And
We're
yeah, they can be
coming
the
for
Fortnite
you.
killers. And was there a Doom killer? I'm sure there was a Doom killer.
Yeah,
We're the
there's a
Doom
million
killers
Doom
too.
killers. Yeah, where are they now? Where wasn't Quake the Doom killer?
That it was, and I guess it kind of worked for a
Then
while.
Unreal was the Quake killer, and then Halo was the Unreal killer.
Uh huh.
That's history. There's your history lesson. Uh, okay, that's pretty much E3. Oh yeah, fuck Nintendo. Shit. Outside of all of these, by the way, there are only two games I was sort of interested in. One was called Sable. It's very cute. It's about a little fox, and it looks like a sort of top-down Zelda, all in 3D. It was cel-shaded looking thing. It looks gorgeous.
And they had the indie dev who worked on it there, and he was just gushing.
Yes, that was the wrong game actually. That was Breath of the Wild set in the future. The game I was thinking of was Tunic, which was a little
Ah, yes, yes,
cute
yes.
Zelda-like, which I thought looked great. There was Summered Phil from the ex-Playdead CEO, which was one of the games we said, Another World 3. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a game that we didn't see on the night, but I did some. I got caught in one of these things I watched afterwards, which was called Walk. Themed very much on classic PS1 creepy horror games. Looked great.
Ooh, okay.
Very lo-fi, quite chilling to look at. I pray that turns out quite good because it did look like it had the right elements to just be like abstract and creepy and haunting. So thumbs up to that. Hope that turns out well. It's got a nice black, white, gray color scheme and everything. Very Silent Hill. Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo. Well, not a lot to talk about, so we'll burn through it. Kazuya joins Smash. Was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Doing the Mishima cliff toss to just about everybody.
Yeah, that's the exact. There's a concept you hold in your head when these kind of things get announced. Like, will they do the meme? And they really brought it. They really brought the meme. Good job.
Sakurai knows what he's.
Absolutely. There was Metroid Dread, a new 2D Metroid game, not by the, as I said on the night, but it wasn't by the Metroid 2 Return of Samus remake for the 3DS team. In the end, it actually they're doing something else these days.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know who's behind it, but it had a lot of that same energy. Looks great. Like, actually,
It was
looks
very,
wonderful.
it was very much. Yep. Don't worry, we're still making Metroid games. Relax, guys. Here's a Metroid game to
Yeah.
keep you as an appetizer for Metroid Prime 4. They actually called it Metroid 5, didn't they? They
Yes.
went, yeah, this one.
Speaking of big balls.
Mm-hmm. You got a lot of chutzpah saying something like that around here, boys.
Yeah.
Just straight up calling it Metroid 5.
That's a Sonic 4 waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a reason for their confidence. I mean, what was Fusion was Metroid 4. That's the way back tradition we're talking about here. If you actually, its title at the start of the game was Metroid 4. So cool. I like that they're still doing
I guess
this.
Super Metroid was 3.
It was, yeah. Said that at the start of that one too. So there we go. And it knows what it's calling back to, and it's evoking something. I hope it doesn't disgrace a secret line, but it didn't look like it did anything of the sort. At the very worst, it could be a divisive Metroid Fusion type game, and I loved Metroid Fusion, so I'm
I
down
feel
for
like
that.
history has vindicated Fusion.
Yeah. There was a new WarioWare, which I was maybe the one person in the world super excited for.
Mm-hmm.
Not really much to add about that. There was Advance Wars remake for the Switch. That was cool. That makes a lot of sense. That plays into my recent Fire Emblem binging. because they play basically the fucking same. Except they don't carry on the interesting part, which is permadeath. I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen. There was Shin Megami Tensei 5. It sure looked like a whole lot of Shin Megami Tensei. So
yeah, that had been highly anticipated by a lot of people. They've been foreshadowing that for at least 4 years.
Yep.
SMT5, it's in production, and now we're finally seeing it.
Finally seeing it. It looks good. It puts that undue pressure to look at the previous games, which yeah, that's a lot.
My understanding is that you can look at 3 and 4. Those are the ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but then we got a pure parallel with the Persona series then.
Persona 2 is good. You can go Persona 2, but forget 1. Don't bother with 1.
It's too late.
That's me casting a message in a bottle to the listeners, which is you don't need to worry about Persona 1 under any circumstances.
If you missed our 3rd episode.
Statistically speaking, you have.
Especially if you listen to the idle thread at the start of the 1st episode. And then Breath of the Wild 2. That's the only other thing I could like. There was a couple of other things. I did Skyward Sword. I pretty much skipped that. There was Fatal Frame, which was the Wii U game. They proving Lawrence's theory right that eventually all Wii U games will be assimilated, and we're into the obscure shit now. Now Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater is coming to Switch.
Yeah, the Switch is like Kronos eating its son.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's children. Guardians of the Galaxy as well was announced for Switch, which I found shocking. So that was one surprise. But yeah, Breath of the Wild 2. Another example of a game that actually gets a ball. I would lug that in with the sort of more problematic things we saw at E3, and that it was kind of banking on the fact you had already played Breath of the Wild and thus needed no further introduction. It teased you like 3 new powers and a floating castle and said, "Oh, that's your lot for this year. See you next year." Then again, for me, that's perfect because I would like at this point to go in as blind as possible, and that was just like enough to go like, "Yep, it's going to be a lot of weird stuff." Rumors abound on the internet about what the fuck all the fucking skeptic. All the guessing games are now beginning depicting are breaking down every single stray detail, trying to get connections to other games. Even Skyward Sword, there's a major theory about that, trying to link it into Skyward Sword. So, that's the kind of level I like to be in.
Experts, leave that to the YouTube experts.
Yeah. That's the kind of place I like to be in. Wild speculation, could be anything, and then. That's it. I don't need a massive big trailer from here. I don't need to watch a 10-minute breakdown of how the game plays because it's going to play like Breath of the Wild. But again, it kind of falls into that category that it felt like the C3 was a bunch of stuff that we kind of already know what they were, and or if introduced to us brand new IPs that play and look exactly like stuff we played for years and years. So it all kind of amalgamates, and unfortunately, Breath of the Wild 2, which a blameless victim, but also added to the sense that we were just like, we were seeing stuff that everybody already knew was done, well done by this point. Oh god. And
have we reached the end of our podcast?
That's E3. So adieu to next year E3. Maybe. Yeah, I know, yeah. To next,
not a guaranteed thing these days.
Yeah, to next year's Summer Games Fest. God bless. God bless Jeff and his cotton socks.
All right. That was not only a podcast, Lee, but because this is not being edited, because that's why we're going to our new format. So you save you edit. Do you know what this makes this?
3-hour podcast.
3-hour podcast.
This is where if the live streaming portion had been settled long enough, we could get some streamer effect going on. But now you're just going to have to look at me wheel back in my chair, and Kira from JoJo blankly stare for the third hour straight.
We always knew it was going to happen. Now it's happened.
So thanks for joining us on the stream, guys. We will be back. We don't know. I'm pretty sure we're not doing this weekend, so maybe next weekday sometime. Who's to say? Or a week after that. We'll keep you posted. Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Follow this Twitch and thing, and you know what will happen? You will get notifications when the schedule is updated, which I can do. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you again another time. Goodbye.
Bye.